You're listening to episode 56, Dr. Sleep, directed by Mike Flanagan. Is Dr. Sleep a sequel we needed, or is it a dream best forgotten? I don't know. Find out on today's episode, Video Villa Podcast. Welcome back to Video Villa Podcast. Becca's not here today, but I have a new co-host for this episode. Introduce yourself, Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony from Hack the Movies. How are you, Logan?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Not too good. You know, I was thinking about that time my dad tried to kill me while we were in the mountains, and it led me to drinking, and I got into a big bar fight recently. That's how I got this bandage on my nose, because I got into a manly bar fight, and I decided that I'm not drinking enough, and I'm very drunk, and I'm ready to talk about Dr. Sleep.
You want to get into the character of Danny?
I was getting into character. I was of the early Danny. I don't like later in the movie Danny. I like
He's
early.
a loser.
Early Danny's a party guy.
So we're doing Dr. Sleep today, which is. We were talking off camera, but this is one of my favorite Stephen King movies. Yeah. And then I was late to the party on the book. Yeah. I saw the movie and we were talking, like, I didn't even know it was made. I just remembered seeing it on Max, HBO Max at the time. And I was just like, oh shit, there's a sequel to The Shining.
A lot of people didn't know. They used a lot of Shining stuff in the advertisements, like the posters, the trailers. But if you missed those, if you weren't going to the theater a lot, you would have had no idea. The biggest problem with this movie, I get that they're adapting the book and using the title. Warner Brothers should have said, screw you, you're putting Shining in the title. The fact that it didn't have Shining somewhere in the title, the Blu-ray learned, Dr. Sleep, the next chapter in the Shining story.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest mistake, because most people just didn't know what the hell Dr. Sleep meant.
Yeah, really, to be honest. Like, I remember reading the description before me and Becca started watching it, and I was just like, so that's Danny grown up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was always a fan of Stephen King because my mom was a fan of Stephen King. At that point, in 2019, I hadn't started my ventures into the books. Yeah. And also this was 2012, I believe that's when the book was wrote.
Yeah. I know the book takes place around 2011. The movie puts the timeline up a little bit.
Yeah. It puts in the current timeline. Yeah.
I remember when they announced the book, at that point I hadn't even read the first Shining. I knew all the differences, but I hadn't physically read it. Yeah. But I remember hearing the premise of the book and I was like, wait a minute. The vampires eating Shining kids. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, we're going to get into the book too. I mean, we can't talk about the movie without talking about the book because I'm sure you agree with me. There's a fork in the road where the book starts and then the movie starts.
We should talk about The Shining a little bit. So I'll do an abbreviated version of this. Back on my channel, around the time this was coming out, I did a couple Shining videos. This is pre-podcast. And I did a video where I recap the Shining book and I talk about both film adaptations, the movie and the miniseries, talk about what they changed and everything. Stephen King famously doesn't like The Shining.
Yeah.
The movie.
He is very openly about that.
And I never understood why. Because it's considered one of the greatest movies ever. Even if it wasn't super accurate, I would be happy that I'm my movie, it didn't turn out the way I would have imagined it, but it's so well received.
Yeah.
Having read the book and knowing Stephen King, it's this had a lot to do with his addiction to alcohol and the Jack character he probably really related to. And the movie's version of Jack is very different. There is no slow descent into madness. And also he gets no redemption, which the whole thing is he went down a dark path, but in the end he did something right. Movie Jack does not. No. Movie Jack just totally gives in.
No, that was the biggest thing. I love love the book. I mean, I like that has been like I re-listened to it before this the taping of this and stuff like that. The book is so good. I like the movie. We have a review of The Shining. That was one of our audio only, but I like The Shining for different reasons. But the book, it is a vastly different story.
Yes. I like both. I think I got lucky because I liked the movie growing up. Like my grandfather and my mom used to watch it all the time. So I'm very nostalgic for the movie. I watched it. This is one of those famous, way too young to be watching this. I don't know if like 5-year-olds should be able to quote The Shining, but whatever. And I had heard about like the fans not liking it. And so when I finally read the book, like around time Dr. Sleep came out, and again, I knew all the differences, but there's one thing to know the differences and then actually like read it for yourself.
Yeah.
And by read, I mean audiobook read by Campbell Scott. George C. Scott's son.
Does a great job, by the way. Does a great job.
His black voice is so funny. I'm sorry, but Campbell Scott is like...
Can you dig?
He's so soft-spoken and everything. So when he's doing his black voice, I'm like, oh, man, I would have just got a black guy in the recording but just for that line. Yes, I really, really like the book. And I actually maybe appreciate some stuff in the movie because the movie will take things from the book and just not explain it. Like the dog suit blowjob guy who I have a story. I've told it on my show a bunch of times, but I can't wait to tell my story about the dog suit blowjob guy.
Also, it shows, if you watch the scene where Jack is working on his book, if you look at the table, he finds the notebooks from the basement. Doesn't explain it. There's no video. It's just they're just sitting on the table and they're with the clippings.
The whole thing is like so many people have died in the Overlook because it was tied to organized crime.
Yeah.
So many people have died here, and that's why there's like all these different ghosts there that are like, but the movie never really tells you that. They tell you about one incident that happened.
Yeah.
They mentioned like a few. They mentioned like while they were building it, like natives attacked and everything. But that was like kind of it. So yeah, the book gave me more of appreciation for the movie. Now I know who the dog soup blowjob guy is, or what his deal is. But some people will be like, I like not knowing and having it open to interpretation. So I think maybe King doesn't like that. But yes, Mike Flanagan ended up writing this.
Yes.
And he had to tell Stephen King, like, I'm making it a sequel to Kubrick's movie. Because apparently King was like, I don't want the Overlook Hotel in it. Because the end of the book... very different from the movie. Jack gets overwhelmed by the Overlook. They like possess him. Danny has a speech about like, you're not wearing your right face. Like this isn't who you really are. And like Jack comes to and goes to the boiler room and blows up the Overlook. Yeah. If you've seen the miniseries, it's basically the book. It's almost verbatim.
But that scene in itself, when if you haven't read the book, that scene is worth the price of the mission, the book alone. But his talk with Danny at the end. Yes. Hands down, one of the best scenes in the book. Yeah. Which we kind of get it. We'll talk more about it. That was the thing.
Mike Flanagan basically like was able to like pitch this to like Stephen King. He's like, look, more people know the movie than this. It's like, we'll get to it. But like he basically, how he won Stephen King over was like, I'm throwing out the ending of the Dr. Sleep book. We're just throwing that in the trash. Yeah. And I'm changing it, and I'm going to, like, incorporate the ending of The Shining and work it into this movie. Yeah. So you get the ending that you want. Fans are happy because they like the movie. And Stephen King has since said that this has redeemed the Kubrick film for him. Yeah. Also, it's one of 2 Kubrick sequels. 2010. Oh, yeah. And this. There's really... Not a lot of his movies can have sequels. I mean, I guess you could do an Eyes Wide Shut too. I don't know what A
Clockwork Orange Part 2? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, what you were saying, that the one other thing that he had was he wanted, like, which you just kind of brought, but like he wanted the original ending to stay intact for the continuation of the story. But the fact that Mike brought it in at the end of his own story.
And the reason the book was written was Stephen King, like, people would ask what happened to Danny and everything. Yeah. And, this is Stephen King, like, now he's no longer an alcoholic. Yeah. Now he's a Twitterholic. At the time of this recording, he's back on Twitter. He made a whole song and dance about how he's leaving. And then he came back in like a month.
He thinks he's a comedian.
He's not very funny. He's really
but he thinks he's a comedian.
He's really not. It's like, dude, can you like... stop tweeting. So I know the fans of your books are saying a lot of your newer books suck. Can you just stop? Just focus on your book. But anyway, maybe we'll write a book about that one day. I can't wait for the third book where Danny is just tweeting too much.
Mike Flanagan did give him the idea that to make a continuation story, an Abra story.
Yeah.
And he did say in an interview, he goes, well, you can never say never.
Yeah.
And then Mike was like, if you do make that, I will make that movie.
But yeah, so he wanted to tell the story because it's like, hey, what if Jack did do AA and did like all this stuff to actually try to fight his addiction and like maybe overcame it?
Yeah.
So that's what sold him on the book. And the movie was a version to like, because that's kind of Jack's story in the first one, and the Dr. Sleep movie is his attempt at being like, well, we didn't get to do it in the first one, let's work it in the second one.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing that I didn't like about the Kubrick movie was the fact that like we didn't get Jack actually as the loving father he actually is.
Yeah,
that man that's like battling. He's battling his addiction, but he's got his demons and he's trying his best to not be overcome by them.
Yeah.
In the movie, he's just like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Give me all your demons.
The movie, he's like, I'm just looking for a fucking excuse. I'm looking for the first thing that kid does. I'm going off. Just please do something. Please do something.
I wish a motherfucker would.
I wish a motherfucker would. Because it really is just it's literally like they're in the Overlook and then it cross dissolves and he's just staring out a window. I'm like, wow, no hallucination of bees or anything from the book. I just can't wait to kill Olive Oil. I'm just looking at her. Fucking Olive Oil, you gotta come.
Oh, Popeye.
He saw Popeye and was like, oh, I'm never getting my money back for that. Yeah, and one of the things that really got me pumped for this movie was Mike Flanagan writing and directing, who I'm a big fan of. I really loved Oculus. And you ever see Oculus?
So I need to see that, and I have not seen Midnight Mass yet.
Midnight Mass was good. Oculus was really, really good.
I saw Hush, and I really liked Hush.
Hush was really good. Oculus was a huge surprise for me because I didn't know what it was. I wasn't familiar with his work. Now I've seen everything except for his latest one, The Fall of the House of Usher.
Well, then he just did a new movie. It was like what's his name in it? Is it Loki? Is Loki who's in it? Or
Tom Hiddleston? Is that out yet? I don't think that's out yet.
Oh, it's not out yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think I would have known. But yeah, but
it said 2024, but maybe that's just like when they shot it. It hasn't been released yet.
I haven't watched his newest series, but I've watched everything he's done since. But Oculus was really, really good. About like a haunted mirror.
Yeah.
And I remember that movie scared me at first.
Oh, really?
Because I put it on. And I don't know why they acquired this movie and why they distribute it, but the first logo is WWE Studios. And I went, oh, no. Oh, no. And I guess because like all their wrestling theme movies flopped, they just started buying random movies and distributing them. And Oculus was just like amazing. And I'm like, how did WWE get lucky?
I'm not gonna lie. So like Oculus, when it came out, it seemed like one of those Ouija movies and stuff like that. Just
you know, it's funny.
Ouija's the third one's good, right? Or
he did the second Ouija's Origin of Evil, and I remember watching him like, wait, his stuff is really good. Because I saw the first Ouija movie, I'm like, this is horseshit.
Yeah,
and I'm like, why did he do a prequel to this? And apparently he wanted to just try making a sequel, and luckily he did it with Ouija, a movie no one cares about, so if he fucked it up, who would care? And that movie's actually really, really good.
Yeah.
The only dumb part of that movie is any connection it has to the original. And I'm like, wait, he did not have to do that good on this movie. Yeah. So I became like a big fan of him, and the evil mirror from Oculus is in Dr. Sleep.
Oh, cool.
When he's walking down at the end when he's walking down to go into like the big bar area, the Lasser glass, I think it's called, is on the wall.
Oh, that's cool.
It made its way. That evil mirror gets around, and somehow it ended up in the empty Shining Hotel. So yeah, I was huge into Mike Flanagan. At this point, Haunting of Hill House is out, and he already did Gerald's Game, which was another Stephen King.
Yeah, that one's a good one. That one's a good one.
So I was all in on this. Me and the ex, we listened to the Shining book. We went and saw this in theaters, and we had a great time. I ended up buying the director's cut. And I'm like, this is even better.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite legacy sequels because it just actually feels like a sequel. The third act, there's a little bit, remember this? Remember that? Remember this? But at that point, it was such its own movie, and there's a story reason for all that stuff. Not like in Jurassic World when they go to the old park.
Yeah.
And it's like, remember this? And it's like, wouldn't they have just built the new park around the old park? Why did they leave it there?
Yeah.
This one actually feels like a continuation. It's different, and it works really well. And we'll go through it, but
yeah, and that's another thing is with like, it's. I had just watched the director's cut, like literally the night before we recorded this. I had seen the theatrical cut multiple times. I was so shocked how much Mike had to take out of his own movie to make the theatrical cut, because they're like mid-sentence stuff completely ripped from the movie. Yeah. That it's like what was it? I think the original cut's like 2 hours and 47 minutes, and this is 3 hours.
3 hours even.
And it's like, it's not just like, oh, there's a little bit more blood here. Oh, there's a little bit. No, it's pure scenes.
Yes.
Like actual like expedition.
He breaks it up into chapters and everything. I've only seen the theatrical cut once in theaters. So I've only seen the director's cut I've only watched this a few times.
One thing I did like though, Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkan or whatever, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but that score from the original Kubrick is so haunting. Yes. And the Newton brothers do
it very, very well.
They definitely show homage and also add their own touch to it. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah,
I really like the score. And again, I mean, they're using like the score from the original, but it doesn't feel like I remember that part.
Oh, no, not
at
all.
Oh, no, this just feels like the music that would be in The Shining.
Yeah, it does. The thing is it's almost like them imitating it, but it doesn't seem, like sometimes when you make music, you can insert things and you can tell where there's a differentiation between styles and stuff like that. This just flows so fluent. And when they chose to bring in the boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, to build up.
My, and it doesn't come out of left ball field. Yeah. It's so good. And the thing is like, me looking more into making, like, since we've been doing the podcast and I've been looking more in like how movies are shot, how people like light up a shot or like after watching Nosferatu and then going through Robert Eggers' stuff, seeing how he sets up his shots and how he chooses his directing style. I've like looked more into that kind of stuff. And Mike Flanagan, he has a style. Yes. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Like almost like everything is like, you see a light backlit and you see like almost like a outline of like the way, I don't know. I mean, you know more about this stuff than me.
He has really good attention to detail. He's one of those directors that probably storyboards his stuff. Like he tries to get everything done like ahead of time.
Oh, he has his visions 100. Yes. I want this.
I did read that the Overlook, he had it built to specifications. They got like Stanley Kubrick's estate, rebuilt everything. But they like aged it, but apparently like they aged it a little too much. He went, start over. Apparently like the one hallway was just a little too aged where like it just didn't work. He's like, do it again.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's not that long. And not that many years have passed.
I remember what I was going to say. They gave him a lot of money for this. So I was reading, they let him do the director's, like he always was going to have this director's cut. That's what I meant to say earlier when I was thinking about the cuts. So yeah, he was able to film. He knew he had to chop it down for the theaters, but he like made some kind of agreement where he could film a bunch of shit that would be on the actual release.
Got it.
So he got lucky, whereas other directors, we never actually get to see their cuts. Yeah. It's years later. Somehow he worked it out. I guess they were expecting this to be a bigger hit than it was.
Well, also at the same time as they were also working on a prequel just for the Overlook.
Yes.
Which to be honest, it's kind of a cool idea, but like depends on who's doing it. It might, it could be a shitty mess. Yeah. Kind of like the Alfred series of the
I never watched it, but I was talking about it recently.
But the thing is, like, that would be cool to see those stuff play out. Maybe seeing like Dick Hallorann working in the hotel and seeing the maid walk in, But
at some point it's just like, gee, I wonder if that girl's going to kill herself in a tub. Oh, wait, she is. Oh, geez, I wonder if that guy's going to get his head blown off. Oh, wait, he is. I mean, I could write 10 movies about dog soup blowjob guy. I could give him I could come up with 1 million backstories for that. He would have to wear the suit in every episode.
Did you ever watch the documentary Room 23 or Room
237 years ago? And actually, before that documentary came out, I was in I had a film course. It's like one of the best courses I ever did. No, it was called like Fans and Fandom, and it was just about like the study of like how fans interact with media. And so I actually got to read a lot of those insane theories.
Oh my God.
Before that documentary came out. And I was already like, oh, these people are just fucked in the head.
Exactly. Thank you. I watched that documentary and I'm like, what the fuck? What? Oh, it's just a dick joke. I'm like, No, he's shaking his fucking hand, for God's sakes, man.
I just heard someone on some other podcast like, yeah, he's playing with toys on the thing, but then the camera cuts and they're completely different to like throw you off. I'm like, that's just a continuity thing. That happens in like every movie. The big robotic arm that holds the raptor egg in Jurassic Park disappears between shots. I don't think Spielberg was trying to like warp things. I think they just shot it a certain way and they trimmed it down and they were like, oh, well, some shots have it. Like, that's just a continuity thing. Like, not everything is a secret message.
Well, the movie's about how the white man came and took the Native American land. You see the big red cans are placed just right. I'm like, really?
Or maybe that's just the cans that they had that they put on there. That was the brand that they had. Like, everyone relax.
God.
Yeah, some of them are just like, I'm not saying there aren't movies with like subliminal stuff in it or just like, deeper themes. But yeah, a lot of the Shining ones is like, oh, you guys are just insane.
Yeah. Well, how are you coming up with that? That's the thing is like, how are you getting that? Because
what's your theory for why there is no maze in all the establishing shots? Do they have one for that? Because in real life, there wasn't supposed to be a maze.
Exactly, yeah. There's hedge animals.
The hedge animals were supposed to come alive. Yeah. I would love to see if anyone can find these. But apparently they did do stop motion test footage.
Oh, shit.
And they were just like, this looks bad. We're not doing it. So that's why the hedge maze is in the movie. They needed like something for the ending. But yeah, if you look at The Shining, the actual hotel, like, because they rebuilt like part of the hotel for even the exteriors.
Yeah.
But the actual hotel has no hedge maze and it's in none of the establishing shots. So it's always funny that it's just a magic hedge maze that pops up only when you get closer. And I actually think this movie doesn't have the hedge maze in the establishing
No, not at all.
Not that it would have it. It's been so long, it would be overgrown.
Well, even like once he's in front of they literally show a view to the road where the hedge would be. Like the hedge maze would be, and it's not there.
Yeah, but I'm like, do they have a theory for that? It's like, no, it's something they rewrote in like editing and stuff. They're like, they just changed the ending of the film.
Yeah.
I hate that whole thing. It's like, guys, it's not that deep.
And the biggest thing, and this is the last thing I want to say about Mike Flanagan, but like the thing is it's been out that he's working on Carrie now. That's his next project. Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, that it was to finally wait for something that he put out another Stephen King thing, and it'd be Carrie. Yeah. Because the thing is, there's already the Carrie made for TV show movie.
Yeah, there's already two remakes and a recent remake. Like
and De Palma's Carrie is the book pretty much, except the ending's chopped up a little bit, but it's mainly the book.
I think the last remake had to credit the writer of the first remake because they didn't change enough. I think there's a couple movies that do that where they just didn't change enough. From The Omen was one of them. Where it's like, this is the same movie. Yeah. Like, what did you actually write? It's the same thing.
And the thing is, he's done TV. He's done 3 very successful TV shows.
Yeah, he doesn't
do freaking Shining as a miniseries. And do a new miniseries of The Shining.
By the way, I loved Haunting a Hill House, but I've read that book. That show is nothing like the book. It takes themes from the book and he basically took that book and remade it as a Stephen King story.
Got it.
Because I know so many people who went back and read the Haunting of Hill House book, like, what does this have to do with the show other than the names and stuff? Like, yeah, he basically, because the original movie did it so well. So if you are going to do it again, just change it. Just take like the ideas and just change it. Yeah. Whereas the 90s remake was like, we'll just add CGI statues to everything. It's like, oh, that didn't work out well.
Well, but another thing is, though, the thing is, one movie that obviously the made-for-TV movie is awful, the Tommyknockers, but the book's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, put your time and effort in something like that, because now the biggest part about the Tommyknockers that didn't do well is first off, it was a made-for-TV movie. Yeah. There's so much practical effects that would be needed reused to actually make that story make sense. It's almost it's almost kind of like H.P. Lovecraft meets Stephen King.
Is that the one where they pick up an alien again at the end and it's like all stiff and they just toss it?
And that's another thing. So the alien, that's another thing. The alien's like literally like it's people morph into the alien. I do the radiation poisoning. Yeah. And like at one point a woman goes to touch her private parts and it's just tentacles. Legit. And then their skin starts to turn translucent. Yeah. I'm like, well, we can do that now because of technology. You couldn't really do that in the 90s.
By the way, I think one of the reasons you might have missed this one, like we've had a lot of Stephen King stuff, like It Chapter 2. But then there was also like the Dark Tower movie, which no one remembers being made. But then there was like the Castle Rock show, the prequel to the Salem's Lot show.
1922.
Not 1912. Whatever that is.
Mr. and Mrs. His or something like that.
There's something like we've got a lot of Stephen King adaptations. So it's funny that his probably most famous one is
Oh,
The
yeah.
Shining. It's funny that The Shining sequel is the one that went under the radar for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just getting thrown Stephen King things. Like, all right, let's all relax just a little bit
Yeah.
here. Now we're getting a Pennywise the Clown show. I'm like, guys, the second movie
Yeah.
kind of sucked. We don't need any more. We're good.
And that's the crazy thing is like this is something like I can see Mike Flanagan doing a Pennywise show
Yeah.
and making it make sense because
Yeah.
he understands the mind of Stephen King
Yeah.
clearly. And we're going to get more into it once we actually start to talk about the movie.
Yeah.
But it's crazy the fact that like I don't know, it's so weird to see. It's so weird I'm like I referenced like Pet Sematary 2, a sequel to a book that was never a sequel for.
Yeah.
It's so weird to try to get stuff, and it's like I have not finished yet, so it's a very big book. I have not finished it, and I have not finished The Stand, and I know that there's the
that was another one. They remade The Stand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Amber Turd. Yeah, it's so weird to see where people they invest in things that people aren't asking for.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, there's tons of Stephen King like books and stuff like that. I mean, like that we can like. Well, I will say, was it Scott Pilgrim?
What is it?
So who directed Scott Pilgrim and
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah, Edgar Wright's working on Running Man, which now that's going to be fun. I think
Running Man is one of my favorite Arnold movies, but if he's doing a more faithful adaptation, that's the thing. I'm like, if you're going to remake something, if you're doing a more faithful adaptation, if you want to just adapt the book closely, like that's one of the things I'm like, all right, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Like you have it here, Conan the Barbarian, I love.
Yes, great.
I mean, it's got the spirit of the books. I've read a lot of Conan stories, but it's not like a super accurate representation.
Yeah.
So when they said they were remaking it in 2011, I'm like, all right, maybe fans of the books will like this. And then I saw the movie and I'm like, no one's gonna like this. It fucking sucks.
It was awful.
So hopefully he's just trying to make it like the book. But if he's trying to do the Arnold Running Man again, it's like, no, don't do that. We've already have it and it's great and I love it. Like just do whatever the book version is. Don't try to do the Arnold Running Man again.
Yeah.
We already have it and I love it.
But yeah, that's all I really want to say about the behind the scenes. Is there anything else you want to say before you read the back of the box?
No, if anything comes to me, I'll probably remember it while we get to
we can put
the
it
scene.
in. Yeah.
But yeah, you want me to read the back here?
Yeah.
Well, this one's easy.
There's nothing
short.
Okay.
Still scared by the trauma he endured as a child at the Overlook Hotel, Dan Torrance faces the ghosts of the past when he meets Abra, a courageous teen who desperately needs his help and who possesses a powerful extrasensory ability called the Shine. No mention of vampires anywhere.
Also, they have one fang tooth. That's as I'm listening to the book, I'm like, I can't even think of what their face looks like right now.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. The vampires,
a tusk, or he's like one tusk.
When they go like full psychic vampire mode, their teeth like regress and they grow like a tusk, even though they don't bite into anything.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
They changed that. The movie makes some good changes.
Yeah, there's some
a lot
great
of really
changes.
good changes in the movie version.
All right. So the movie opens up. It's 1980. We get introduced to a little girl named Violet and Rose the Hat.
Yes. Played by Rebecca Ferguson.
Hot.
Who I love, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
She is. That's the thing is, in the book, it's very clear. She is beautiful.
Yes.
And she is beautiful in this movie.
Yes.
100%.
She is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm a big fan of her regardless. I love her in the Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Mission Impossible.
The new Dune movie. She's really good. She can play a good bad guy.
Oh, that's one thing is, I'm just gonna say this now. Everybody does a great job.
Yes.
Abra, fantastic. Fantastic. The little boy Danny does a great job.
Yes.
Ewan McGregor does a great job. I mean, literally, like, I didn't write that name, Billy, the guy who plays Billy.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. He's always in small parts of movies and stuff like that. Yeah. But great.
But no, Rebecca Ferguson's really great. And I love that, like, she is speaking American, like an American accent, but a little bit of her because the character is from like Celtic Ireland.
Yeah.
So I like that, like occasionally, like the more Irish side of her accent will come out, which I don't even think she's Irish in real life. I forget what she is in real life. So I like that her accent's going in and out, which is something they played with in the True Blood show. There was you ever watch True Blood?
Oh yeah, of course.
The Russell character, the very old vampire.
Oh yeah.
He would speak with like the southern accent, but when he was mad, his like original whatever his European accent would come out.
It was that thick Louisiana accent.
Yeah, but then it would turn like Norse or something. It would. So I like that she works in just to show how long she's been alive. That her accent like dips in and out. This isn't from the book.
No.
But they mention there's so many kids they have killed in the past.
Yeah.
It's a good way to establish like what they do.
Yeah.
So we know, so we don't have to wait till later in the movie to find out what they do.
Exactly. And it's haunting. Haunting. Yes. This movie has, it's funny. Ever since I saw this movie has a scene we'll talk about when we get there, but this movie has a scene that I've seen it once, I will never watch it again.
Did you fast forward that?
Every time. I've seen it. I watched this movie 3 times for the review. Every single time. I saw it once. I don't need, and it was funny. I was on TikTok and literally I was horror TikToking and a guy said the exact same thing.
Oh, I watched that scene on a loop.
Oh
I'm like, hey kid, the Predator was pretty fucking stupid. I'm watching your death scene over and over again.
Oh shit, he's in the Predator. Yeah.
They were after Room. They were putting him in everything.
Yeah, even what was the was he Bad Boys or
Oh yeah, there was that one about like the asshole kids. Yeah. You know the trailer looked really bad.
Bad Kids or something like that.
Yeah, I looked at the trailer of that movie like that sucks. I'm putting Dr. Sleep on playing on repeat. But yeah, and the Violet girl is the young version of the girl in Haunting of Hill House.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She finds the baby the cat with the
no. She's the youngest one who ends up being the one who dies. Nell. She's the young Nell.
Got it.
But yeah, this part is creepy where like she's trying to like keep the kid's attention. And every time the kid looks up, there's more and more
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. They're my friends.
They're my friends. And there's just more and more of them. And they're all actors he's worked with in the past. Like Barry the Chunk.
Yeah.
That's not his name in the book.
Nope.
I don't think why they bothered saying his stupid...
Well, we definitely can't say it on YouTube because you all saw what happened to Shane Gillis.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you were saying it off camera. I'm like, whoa, get it out of your system, Logan. Jesus. Whew, I feel like I'm in Manny Muskets here. That's a joke for my show.
Tony was reading The Shining, but only the parts where the N-word showed up. So
that's the thing. Stephen King. I told the story on my show, but I'll say every year, I was like, so my ex was like big into Stephen King. And thank God no one, like the apartment we had, no one lived around us. She would just blast Stephen King audiobooks on the Amazon, the Alexa. And I would just tune in. And it would always, she had It on, which is like a 1,000,000-hour-long book.
Yeah.
And whenever my ears would tune in, it would be about something about penises or the N-word. I'm like, wasn't there a clown? What is this book about?
Gerald's game gets pretty rough because he has a whole conversation. He talks about that sex scene and his erected penis. It was sharp.
Stephen King, what the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, it's.
Oh, man. But anyway, yeah, Barry the Chunk is there. And he's been in a bunch of Michael Flanagan stuff. He was in Haunting Hill House. The Silent Sari, she was in his first movie. She was the main actress in his very first movie.
His brother's in it too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the guy that wears the goggles.
Yeah.
And then I think he's Filipino, but the dark complected guy with the black hair, he was he worked on the Hill House, but he was the medic on staff.
Oh, okay.
And he applied to be in the movie and he lost it. He goes, hey, I didn't get the job. I just want to thanks Mike for suggesting me to apply for it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll just throw you in the movie.
Yeah.
They just put him in the movie.
There's definitely less vampire. I'm just going to call them vampires.
You can, yeah.
Because True Not is stupid. There's definitely less vampires in the movie version. The book, there's a ton of them.
Oh, yeah. There's a scene... We'll talk about at the ending, but there's a scene where I want your opinion on it when we get to it about how they get rid of all of them at the end.
They find a convenient way to get rid of them. So it's good that they started out with not that many.
Yeah. So after this, unfortunately, they do drain Violet of her shine. Yeah. Now we cut back.
That's the thing. They're specifically going after kids who have the shine.
Yeah. And the thing is, after puberty, the shine, it becomes diluted and polluted or something.
Because kids will hide it.
Yeah.
Like which Abra will do later in the film. So they're forced to like hide it so they don't use it as much.
Yeah. It's like a muscle. It's like muscle.
Or they're like Danny, who like just gets real into drinking, and
Yeah.
like there's ways to like get rid of your shine. And they mentioned that there's a lot of people who have shine that don't even know they have
Exactly.
it. So if you're not aware of it, you can't like focus it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they, like I said, they go after specifically kids when it's like the strongest.
Yeah. So now we cut back to Danny, and it's post the events of the Overlook. They're in a little apartment in Florida. And at first when I watched them, like, oh, did they get Dick's old house in Florida? but
You're waiting for the naked lady post.
I was like, maybe it is. And I rewatched The Shining. I'm like, oh, it's not. I was wondering if he was going to try to pull something like, oh, okay, well, they were hurting, and then they, somehow got Dick's house or whatever. But it's not. And ever since the events of the Overlook, Danny has not been talking.
Yes.
No, he has been.
I mean, that was a lot. That was kind of a lot. His dad tried to kill him, and then he killed his dad by making him lost in a maze and exposing him to the elements. That'll really mess you up. Oh, and also like, evil demon ghosts were trying to kill him.
And that's another thing we find out is even though, and it makes sense. So it makes sense for Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for the book Dr. Sleep, why they're still coming after Danny. If the Overlook blew up in the book, why are they still coming after Danny?
Well, I think they just latched onto his shine.
Yeah.
So they like followed him. I mean, they actually know the book has more of a reason. They don't have a place to hunt. No one's coming to them anymore. And they're like, oh, well, fuck, I guess we gotta, where'd that kid go? Florida?
So Danny has still been seeing ghosts. We see the lady from
Miss Massey, I think is her name.
Which
I have an action figure of here that I got at VHS Fest.
Is that like a independent person?
Yes, this is from barbarianrage.com. Barbarian_rage. I don't even know them that well. I'm giving them a free plug. Sorry. And it's not a toy, and it's for adults age 35 up. Well, look,
you're in luck.
I bought this one when I was 33.
Oh, that's against the law.
So everyone report them to the Fed. No. Yeah, so she's still following him. She's hiding in bathtubs because she only haunt bathtubs. That's pretty funny.
This scene is pretty nasty. Like, well, not this scene. The scene where he's dreaming and he sees her and she slowly comes out of the shadows.
Yeah.
That's pretty haunting.
Which I think that was in the director's cut. With him in the
No, that's in the theatrical one too.
That is in the theatrical? Okay,
that's the weird thing. So with the director's cut, they kind of hold on the scene a little bit longer. We see a little bit more. Like, what's not in the theatrical cut is when Wendy goes to check the bathroom. That's not in the theatrical cut.
Okay. Who's Alex Esso? She's been in a bunch of Mike Flanagan stuff.
Yeah, she does a great job. Great job.
I really appreciate that he just got new actors for the role. I'm glad they didn't do the de-aging.
They were going to try to do that, but then he goes, either you go full blown de-Asian, and you do it through the whole movie, or you're going to find new actors. And that was his big thing is he goes, you are playing the character. You're not playing a caricature of Wendy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of be your own self.
Yeah.
But you still she still felt a little bit like, shit, my name's blanking.
The original Wendy?
Shelley
Duvall.
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shelley Duvall.
But
what's going on? But she, like, just the way her mannerisms and how she talks to Danny, I was already like, okay, that is.
She did a really good. She did a really good job. Every new actor did a really good. Well, maybe the one was a little bit of a stretch later in the film. I don't know if I would have gotten that guy, but all right. I mean, it worked.
I think because he's been working with him in Gerald's Game and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I get it, but I'm just like, he kind of looks like he's just doing a costume where everyone else felt like the character. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. But yeah, so he is still seeing ghosts. He wakes up in a fright. Olive comes out to check out and see if he's okay. And then after that, we cut to the next day, which this was fun. I like how Mike edited it for this. In the book, Hallorann comes to sit down. Wendy reaches out to him. I need you to talk to Doc.
Yes.
But it makes more sense that it's the ghost version.
Yeah, because if you don't know, Dick survives in the book.
Yeah.
He's like the hero.
He's like one of the best characters.
Stanley Kubrick's like, we got to kill that guy.
Yeah. What the hell?
So Ghost Dick.
Yeah.
That sounds, I don't like that. Richard the Ghost, we'll call him. He like shows up with Danny. I like that Danny's like, you said they were like pictures in a book and they wouldn't hurt me. And he lets him know that there's different types of shine. He's like, Well, for me, they were. Like, they
Yeah.
couldn't get me. I was older. They didn't want me, or maybe my shine wasn't strong. It's like, but you are very strong with The Shining.
Yeah.
They couldn't resist you, and, like, it made them stronger.
Yeah, because even in the book, though, we get that nasty... The story of his grandfather is disgusting. Like, he used to grab him by the balls and hold him really hard.
But yeah, he tells him, like, his grandfather was an asshole, and that his grandfather would, like, still attack him after death.
Yeah.
And he gives him the lockbox and shows him, like, hey, I want you to study these boxes, and this is the way that you can trap them. So now he's got, like, a weapon against these ghosts. Yeah. And he tells me, he's like, the Overlook is bored, they're starving, and they've latched on you. They're going to keep coming for you. Yeah. Sorry, kid. And also, Dick should be like, you think you're sad? I'm dead. Like, can you just relax? At least you're alive. But he mentions, they confirm, because it's always a theory if you only watch the movie version, but, like, did Jack have The Shining? Yeah. And he said, he's like, yeah, your dad shined. He didn't know because he drank so much, but, like, it fed on his darkness. And that's one thing I did like. So that is actually, that's not, okay, this scene is heavily edited. Not like when I say heavily edited, but there's a lot of their conversation that's cut out. And this is nice because he does let Danny know, your daddy loved you. Yeah. You know, it was the hotel. It wasn't your daddy, which it's very, like, it shows a little bit limmer, like a little, not limmer, but that is a heavy point where, like, it is very heavy in the book. Yeah. That Jack was obsessed with Danny, and he always regretted the bad things he did to him. Yeah. Like break his arm and stuff like that. Which again, you know, the movie version had to be like, oh, trust me, he loved you. I know he looked like an insane Jack Nicholson. Who never showed any kind of affection. But no, take my word for it, he loved you. So he goes back into the house and he's going to try out his new trick on the old lady, and he ends up putting her in a box. And then I love that you hear her scream. Yeah, it's and then nice. Like he just shuts the door. You just hear Miss Massey scream. Yeah, and then he comes out and he starts talking to his mom. Yeah, it's like all normal. Yeah, which is really cool because that was the other thing. That's another thing. Like, okay, he's talking again and stuff like that. I will say one scene that, and now it's not right here, but there's one scene that I noticed that, like, was cut from the movie. And I didn't, like, when he goes back in the bathroom, just stares when he talks about his mom not looking at him. He just looks into the mirror. I'm like, what is that all about? Yeah, you don't find out till later. Yeah, she won't look at his eyes and stuff like that. I don't know. It's like he says later on in this conversation that, like, that was the last time he used his shine was to, like, change his eyes so she wouldn't see his dad. Shit, I'm glad you told me that because I had no idea what I didn't. He says it in the conversation later on. I knew he said that's the last time I used the shine. I didn't know he was. I didn't look in the mirror and see he was changing. He was like apparently changing his eyes so his mom wouldn't see. Jack. That went right over my head. I didn't realize. I guess it was just too subtle of an effect. I didn't realize until he spelled it out later. Yeah, which he didn't even. That's not even the theatrical cut. Yeah, that felt like it was very much added. Yeah, in the end, with that conversation, that's not. That's like not in there. I should watch the theatrical cut again and see how it flows after watching the director's. It flows good. I'm sure it flows well. Yeah, but yeah, there's a little bit of extra stuff there. Like, oh shit, that's not there. Oh shit, that's not there. So now it's 2011, and which is when the book takes place. Like I said, because I guess the movie version of Shining took place after the book version, so they can put it up a little bit. Yeah, because the book is 76, I think. I think 76 and the movie's 80. So yeah, they pump it up a little bit. But we miss out on some subplots doing this, like baby Abra predicting 9/11 and the vampires doing a 9/11 viewing party. That's a real thing that happens. So I can see Mike Flanagan going, nah. So for the viewers, if you haven't read the book, so apparently the True not only can they suck out shine, any kind of awful misery and pain someone's feeling, it also slowly gives them some sort of power. Because everyone has a little bit of shine. So if like 1,000 people die at once, they can feed on that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there is a part in the book where they just go to New York because they're aware of what's about to happen. They can sense it. Like they can sense it. And I got to that part in the book. I'm like, I can see them just being like, yeah, no, we're skipping all of this. Yeah, because it cuts all the way to like, we don't see Abra until much later. Like we don't get any baby scenes. Her grandmother's not even in the movie at all. Grandmother's like a huge part of the book, not in the movie. Yeah. Like, but just a mention that she's dying. Is this movie woke because they changed her gender? Not gender, but her ethnicity? Well, you know, I don't care about her being mixed race, but her mom had to be Italian. Yeah. And I looked up Jocelyn Donahue. I could not. Donahue doesn't sound very Italian. She doesn't look very Italian. I looked at early life on Wikipedia. I do it often for every actor. And I didn't see Italian there. So if she's not Italian, then this is just another bit of Italian erasure. And I will not stand for it. Because that's a big thing. Like her mom is just like, oh, hey, I'm Italian.
But that's another thing. The grandmother is like, it's because they go into like, I mean, we get about her back history and stuff. And
for the movie version, they're getting rid of a very stupid thing from the book.
Yeah.
And also the grandmother plays into how they kill the vampires, which they threw that ending out. So her being reduced sort of makes sense. But for you, the viewer, she has a shining psychic grandmother.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's 2011. So now we get Danny as his life is going. It's off-sea in the shitter. Yeah. He's become just like his dad. He's alcoholic, but he's been doing it to suppress his shine.
Yes.
And I believe, if I can remember, it is ever since his mom died.
Yes.
That's why he's doing it. Because he's just alone.
Yes.
And he like, it's kind of like, also, when she died, he sees it a lot because we see the scene with Billy in the book, but the fly stuff, that is more prominent in the book than it actually got in the movie. We only get, like,
the movie, there's only one bit of fly stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, you learn later in the film that like when his mother died, her face was covered in death flies.
Yeah.
So he couldn't actually look at his mother
as
she was dying, and like he's felt guilty about it ever since.
Yeah. So now we're in New Jersey, and he's getting drunk at a bar, goes home with a woman. He wakes up next to her, and she's just thrown up fucking everywhere.
Yeah. I think in the movie version, it's implying that she's either dead or dying.
That I think she had the way I perceived it was, she is dead.
Yeah.
She overdosed and probably drowned on her vomit. Yeah. He doesn't know she's dead, though.
He doesn't know, yeah.
Yeah.
But he runs into the baby.
Oh, fuck.
And instead of like getting it help, he just leaves it there. And Ghost Dick is like, which in the book I think it's his mom's voice, but in this it's just Dick. He's like, come on, man, don't take her money. It's like, I think she stole the money from me, really?
So, and that's another thing is, so in the theatrical cut, you don't even see the food stamps.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes more sense. I'm going to take the money, but at least she's got food stamp to buy food with.
Yeah.
So you can, like, I guess not feel as bad. But so in the theatrical cut, he doesn't try to put Dick in a box.
No. No. He tries to put the memory in the box.
Is that a memory? Oh, I thought he was trying to put Dick in the box.
No. Later on, he tries to put Dick by accident. No. In this scene, he starts to open the box, and Dick tells him, he's like, no, you can't put memories in the box. You can put ghosts and stuff, but not memories.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought he was like, you can't, I thought he was like, I'm a memory. This is a memory of me.
No. He was just gonna like put this memory away, so he didn't have to think about it.
Makes sense.
But no, later on he does try to put Dick in back like accidentally.
Yeah.
But
which makes sense because that makes sense now that you explained it to me. Because then later I'm like, well, that don't make sense because why would he try to do it again when he knows he can't?
Yeah. But yeah, so he's definitely feeling a certain way about this. In the book version, it's like haunting him a little bit more.
Oh, fuck
Well, there's different outcomes to this scene.
And she shows up, I don't remember the girl's name, but that he slept with, but she shows up multiple times in the book.
Yeah.
She said, like, I really cared about
Deanie,
you.
That's
Deanie, yeah. Because she's like a premonition. Like, this is going to happen. Kind of like another Tony, kind of.
Yeah.
To like give, this is what the future holds for you, but I care about you, so I want to let you know.
Yeah. But yeah, he decides to just leave the baby. He gives it like Cheez-Its and puts them on the bed and leaves them.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Then, and when they come back, I'll tell the difference, like how those two outcomes, how the two versions split.
Yeah. So after that, we also see Rose the Hat. And mind you, it started in 1980. It's 2011. She hasn't aged one day.
Nope.
And that kind of lets you know you kind of get these little clips of like, okay, that's weird. What the fuck's going on here? And we see her and Crow Daddy.
Yeah.
They're stalking, not stalking, sorry, but they're tracking Andy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, Crow Daddy's now the tracker. There were so many other True Dot members. And as what movies do, they condense multiple characters into one. So Crow Daddy has taken the position of like a bunch of different characters.
Yeah.
Much like Billy Freeman takes on the roles of 3 different characters put into one.
But this is the thing with me. So Andy's character in the book is almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
And they make her
her down.
15-year-old. Yeah. Which that makes sense. Okay, I'm finding these sick pedophiles online, trying to, and I'm making sure they don't do this again.
Yeah.
The Andy in the book is just kind of like, I got fucked over by one man and now I just hate men. I'm just doing this because I hate men. It's the movie did it better. I think
the movie did it way better. They're also watching a movie that Warner Brothers owns because in the book it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they're like, we're not paying Disney shit. Put one of our movies up there. But yeah, I like that she's strong enough to affect Crow Daddy, but not Rose. Rose is like, no, you're not gonna work.
Yeah. That was funny. He's like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
But yeah, she can put you to sleep, and then she puts the snake bite carving on your face, which I feel like they're kind of taken from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That was like a big element where she like tattoos the guy and like tells him like you'll never remove that.
Yeah, and also he also makes he gives her she gives them the memory of a no face person in white. Yeah, so they can't go back and like tell
and find out who
it is. Yeah. Which is that scene when they turn Andy in the book. It's kind of cool, and it was kind of weird. Like we didn't get that actual like her like translucening like when they die. Yeah, because you almost kind of have to die to become a true knot. Yeah. It's kind of weird that we didn't get that in the movie. Yeah. I thought it was kind of weird because like we see that process happen, but it was weird to not see that visually. Yeah, this is when they go out to like the beach. Yeah. And they do the whole ceremony. Grandpa Flick is there. Yeah. Who's Carlin Strickland from Twin Peaks. Yeah. Men in Black. He was in Gerald's Game. He was the creepy figure. Adam's Family. He's Lurch from Adam's Family. I can't believe that guy's still around. Becca's like, wow, what's wrong with his head? It's like, no, it's just what it looks like. He's very big. But yeah, so we get that. Meanwhile, while all that, so they got Snakebite Andy. They're trying to recruit her. We get Abra. Yeah. At her birthday party, and she has shown that she has some special abilities. Yeah, I think before the birthday party, they show that like she's playing the piano, right? Yeah, and then she goes, that's not in the theatrical cut at all. Yeah. So in the director's cut, she's playing the piano. She goes to bed, and the parents think that she woke up to play the piano, but the piano's just playing itself, which is in the book. Yeah. Which is funny. So my notes are based off the theatrical cut. I made my notes before I watched the theatrical cut. That's all right. I'll interject. But yeah, so the birthday party, there's a magician who's showing off all the tricks with the spoon. She's like, I can do that. He's like, yeah, whatever, girl. Stop trying to like, your parents are paying me. Can you stop trying to one-up me? Fucking, what the hell? I will say one thing that annoys the shit out of me after they cut from that and it's the party's over. There's just fucking cake and trash all over the ground. Like, who the fuck just left their trash on the ground and put it in a trash can? It was a bunch of little kids. I guess so, yeah. But yeah, like they go into the kitchen and she's putting the spoons all on the ceiling. And it freaks them out. But then she sees their reaction. She's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Well, another thing is, later in the movie when they have so much disbelief, I'm like, y'all saw what she fucking did. They don't want to believe it though. What the fuck? How can y'all not understand this? Like y'all saw it. Which by the way, I don't know. You're a dad. I think kids would be the opposite. They're like, you know what? I am going to do it. I'm going to see how much trouble I will get in. Okay. So we're actually going to review the Twilight Zone after this. Yeah. It's a real life or it's a good life or what? Yeah. It's a good life. The Twilight Zone episode versus the Joe Dante short. Yeah. That episode is fucked up. That child, there's a reason why they call him a fucking monster. Yeah, he's evil. He's legit fucking evil. I don't like you. I feel like that's the realistic way. Like, even my nieces, like, you can tell them no, and they'll listen sometimes, but then other times they're like, yeah, but it'd be real funny if I did. And I'm like, no, it won't be funny if you don't do it. So I feel like her being like, oh, she'd be like, well, maybe I'll lift up the car. Maybe they'll like that. Makes sense because especially, definitely if it's a little boy. I mean, it's like, oh, what if I move the TV around the room? It's like, you like that, won't you? Yeah, but they're freaked out. They cut out the whole subplot with like the doctor who is in the movie, but only for like 2 scenes. Yeah, he was bigger character. But the doctor is like aware of Abra and her like stuff, and he's like, I don't know. Which is in Gerald's Game as well. Yes. And Fall House Usher too. Yes. But yeah, so after this, we cut back to now Danny, and Danny has hit rock bottom. He finds himself in Fraser, Nebraska. Yeah. Not Nebraska, sorry, New Hampshire. I was going to say Nebraska. Oh, wow, New Hampshire and Nebraska just formed into the mighty Nebraska Alliance. Well, this is what was it? A giant turtle threw up a universe. It is the whole Stephen King universe. How far are New Hampshire and Nebraska from each other? Welcome to Nebraska. So yeah, like he's in Teeny Town. Yeah, well, that's just funny. Yeah. Which is funny because that's confused me in the movie. Is like in the book was like her name was Teeny, and then he shows up in Teeny Town. Like, I got kind of confused. I'm like, so there's 2 teenies in here, which I thought was funny. I like the whole Teeny Town concept. Yeah, I liked it too. But yeah, Billy Freeman's here, who again is.
he will be taking on the role of the doctor also.
Yeah.
And I think like a third guy they're working in there.
So the doctor and Billy and Dave, because Dave gets killed.
Yeah, the Abra's dad kind of gets worked into him too.
Yeah,
so they build up this character a little bit more, which out of the 3 characters, that made the most sense for Danny.
Yeah.
To 100%. Put them all in there for Danny, yeah.
Yeah. So in the movie, in the book, there's multiple characters that kind of become their what's the word I'm looking for a group of people? Their what's the word? Entourage. Yeah, entourage. Yeah. In the book, it's mainly, in the movie, it's just pretty much Billy and Danny. But Billy finds Danny. He can tell, obviously, there's some problem with him. He's got a black eye, and he's seen that look because he is a fellow alcoholic person. And he's working on himself with AA. And he offers him a job working at Teeny Town, working with the train, and then he gets him a place to stay.
Yes, and they make a point to say that like the previous tenant was a teacher.
Yeah,
and he put chalkboard paint, which early 2000s a lot of people were like. I remember my roommate when he got his own place afterwards, he put like chalkboard paint for his like senior thesis on and stuff. But because I think in the movie, Abra sends him messages like at work on like a board.
Yeah.
So they changed it for the movie where it could be like on his wall, and it's more visually pleasing.
Yeah, and their conversations also like when they reach out to each other, they use email.
Yeah.
In the movie, I mean, sorry, in the book. And the chalkboard makes more sense.
Yeah, I think at first she's doing it on his board, and then they eventually like communicate. But I like the chalkboard was like way cooler.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it sets that up that there's a chalkboard where you can do messages.
So Danny goes back to bed after in his new apartment, and he wakes up and he has a guest in his bed, and it is Teeny.
Dean. I think it's Deanie.
Deanie.
Whatever her name is. Yeah.
It's Deanie, and this is heartbreaking.
This is more tragic than the book.
Yeah.
So we find out she's like, I'm dead. She's like, the neighbors were so used to the baby crying, they never even checked. And like, it's implied that she died and the baby like eventually stopped crying because it passed out and also died.
Yeah, because starved to death.
Yeah, and like it's an animatronic baby.
Yeah, it's awful.
Apparently the notes, they kept calling it Robo Baby.
Oh, it's awful.
But it like turns around and they got the flies on.
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So in the book it was very different. He realizes that like he like goes through a while and sees a picture of a guy.
Oh, it's her brother.
Her brother.
Yeah, it's her brother. He's been abusing the baby.
Yes, and you find out that like he left them there. She didn't die when he left there, and at some point the brother like came in and like killed them.
Yeah, yeah.
But this one, it's like I know, and like Danny feels like conflicted for that in the book. And I'm like, well, how much could you have done? Like,
yeah,
like even if like you didn't take the money or anything, like she probably would have just
still would have happened.
Yeah, there have been people who tried to save people from abusive situations, but they're so stuck in it that they won't allow themselves to get
100%.
So like the movie version, it's like it's more on Danny. He could have left the door open so the baby could have wandered out and found other people, but he didn't do anything. So I like the movie version. It's on him that she died.
Yeah, and that's his breaking point. That makes more sense for it to be his breaking point. Then he goes downstairs to talk to Billy, and he's like, you said you've seen this look before. I need help. And that's when Billy gets him into AA.
Which I guess worked for Stephen King.
AA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
because I'm not shitting on AA.
No.
It's better than doing nothing.
Yeah, of course.
But like, I was looking at like the actual like percentage of like how many people it actually helps. It seems really inconsistent, but
it depends. It
depends on the person, obviously.
It's the individual.
You are, yeah.
It's the individual, and also I will say, AAA is based off your group.
Yeah.
It's only as effective as the group because every group is different. Every group of people are different. And some people are knowing someone who's been to AA and they've literally said like it's hard to find a good group. And if you find the good group, then it's easier to stay on
So
check.
I had an old roommate who was on house arrest. So I got a free place to stay because they needed someone who could run errands for them. So I just lived with this person for like 6 months. But one of the things I had to do was drive her to AA meetings. And like it was weird being a not alcoholic there. I'm like, wow, I'm getting like a whole different view of this. Yeah. Some groups were definitely better than others. There were ones that are very more religious than others.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There were some where it was just like, the one guy was like, yeah, my power went out. So I figured, they can't call me to see if I'm home. So I went to the store and I bought a case. I'm like, well, how did you think that was going to end? Like, I'm like, you had to work really hard to get that. He's like, yeah, I walked 2 miles to buy a case. I'm like, all right, dude, you have a problem.
Yeah, it's not like they said, the groups, it's a big process where like, so like you said, some are religious based, some are non, some are more like.
And also a lot of people there aren't alcoholics. When I was Ubering, I remember this one girl was like into drugs. She's like, I can't go to Drugs Anonymous. It's just where drug dealers find new clients. She's like, I have to go to Alcoholics. And I'm like, man, that is so she has to go there and be like, I'm an alcoholic. So yeah, but I guess it worked for Stephen King. So this movie like really makes it look like, oh, this will save you.
Well, not only because fucking he was addicted to coke. I mean, shit.
Yeah, he has no memory of making
Cujo. Yeah,
oh, not Cujo. It was Maximum Overdrive, the one he directed.
Oh, okay.
He has no memory of making that movie.
I remember there was the big thing about Cujo. He said where
I mean, he was probably doing it on Cujo.
At one point at Cujo, he looked into a trash can. All it was full of bloody tissues because he kept on getting nosebleed for so much coke he was doing.
Yeah. But I guess it really worked for him. And it looks like it's going to work for Danny. He meets the doctor there.
Yep. And though it's Dr. John, which we get the great scene if he explains to him. You can tell through the conversation, he keeps on fiddling with his wrist.
Yeah.
Danny knows where he left his watch.
Yeah. And this is a big display of power. I think in the book, he has more of a reason to tell him. Like, yeah. But in this one, it's like, oh, by the way, you were washing your hands and this, and you left the watch there. And he's just like, I would be like, are you a fucking stalker? What are you doing? Why are you following me?
In the book, it's more like, oh, you could tell he's very upset about losing the watch because it was so important that his wife gave it to him. Yeah. Because that's what he's getting in his mind. This is just, I get it. It's great that it's in the movie and we don't have time for it to explain all that. Yeah. Then the movie, 3 hours long for the director's cut. That's pretty fucking long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so this works in his favor because then Dr. John starts looking at his resume.
Yeah. Offers him a job as an orderly, and the scene is almost exactly like the scene of the owner of the Overlook hiring Jack.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's shot almost exactly the same.
It's the same room.
It's the same room?
It's the same room.
The exact same room?
Or they probably built a set for this.
I'm saying, I don't think it's the exact same room. I think it was a different
it's the same office.
But so they...
It is windows there, the little cut out.
They made it look exactly like they're
100%.
So mimicked, and it's even shot the same way, so it mimics that.
Yeah,
which I like because their dad. He's kind of the same age as Dad is. I think he's a little bit older than Jack was.
Yeah, but it works that way because he's getting a job. That Jack was getting a job to save his marriage and stuff. He's he's getting a job to save himself.
Yes.
Which he find out him becoming Dr. Sleep.
Yes.
Which is very cool. Very cool.
Yes. So he ends up being an orderly at that hospital.
Which also another thing is
hospice hospital.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but like when he's in Deanie's apartment, I kept on looking at him like, why does that shirt look so fucking funny on him? It's Scrubs.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I was like, well, that's the weird. Why is Ewan McGregor wearing a shirt that obviously doesn't fit him right? And I was like, oh, it's Scrubs because this isn't his first like hospital style job.
Yeah. He's mentioned he's been an orderly in other places.
Yeah. Which is very cool because then we cut to is this when we cut to 8 years later?
I think it flashes forward. There might be, check your notes. I think maybe there was one scene after this, but I think it flashes forward. Here.
Yeah. So this is when we cut to 8 years later. Well, no, I take it back. Yeah, we haven't cut to 8 years later because first we get the person in hospice where they codename them Dr. Sleep.
Yes, where we find out that this cat, and I like that it was two cats, a younger one and an older one. Azzy, short for Azrael, which is the cat of death. It usually goes up to people's rooms who are about to die.
Which is based off a true story.
Yeah, Stephen King read a story about a cat that did this and worked it in here. And your cat, which looks like the one from Pet Sematary.
Yes, Church.
Obviously now it's not here. It keeps running up to me and I'm like, am I gonna die? I don't understand. But yeah, then he's there with this old man who's just like, I'm scared to death. And he's like, hey, it's kind of like sleeping. And he's like, he comforts him. The guy gives him the nickname Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
So basically he's using his shine to comfort people in their last moments and let them go peacefully.
Yeah. Which is, I love this because Danny as a little boy is called Doc because of Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Now him as an adult, he's called Doc.
He's kind of becoming Doc.
Dr. Sleep.
And also it shows that animals have the shine.
Yeah.
The cat has a little bit of a shine, so it knows when people are going to pass. So
that's pretty cool.
Why it cares, I don't know. I never met a cat that would actually care. A real cat would be like, does that guy feed me? I'm not going in this room.
Or they're just wait for you to die so they can eat you. Pretty much. But I like this scene a lot because I like the reassurance that he gives the man. He tells him, that's another thing is in this scene, there's a little bit more to it than the theatrical cut. They kind of talk a little bit more, especially the second scene where we see the 8 years later and he talks to the guy. He talks about his sons. That's not even in theatrical cut at all.
Yeah.
So now it's 8 years later and Danny's been 8 years sober at AA meeting.
Yes.
He starts to open up how this was for his dad because he knew where he's standing is where his dad wanted to be.
Yeah. He's like, my dad was at a place just like this. He was never able to like beat his addiction. He leaves out the whole part about the ghost hotel.
They're like, trying to kill him.
He's like, and then we went to that ghost hotel where evil ghost made him evil. And everyone would just be like, oh my God, he's not sober. Someone can we have a breathalyzer here? What's going on here? He leaves that part out wisely. But yeah, so it's like a big moment where like he was able to achieve something that his dad wasn't able to do.
Yeah, and it means a lot to him because that's kind of like what he was striving for.
Yeah.
Which is another thing is kind of helps clean up the whole like always looking at like Jack being a bad guy.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah. It provides context that was purposely left out of the previous film.
Yes.
Because Stanley Kubrick was like, I just want Jack Nicholson to be a dick.
Well, the funny thing is, Stephen King gave him a screenplay, he just threw it right in the trash.
Threw it right out. He's like, well, I'm going to keep the parts I like. Bye.
But yeah, so now, meanwhile, we get scenes of the True Knot.
Yes.
And they are running low on steam.
Yes, they're establishing this a lot earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, the book mentions that there's like less steam these days.
Yeah.
But we'll get to
my God.
When we get to it, the book has a different reason for why they're dying.
Yeah.
The movie version is setting it up that like they're just not feeding as well as they used to.
Yeah, because Crow Daddy brings up, he goes, I don't know if it's the internet and tablets. It's like basically children don't have that much of an imaginational mind.
They have other things to suppress their shine.
Exactly.
Things to distract them from using it.
Exactly.
So he's like, can we open up a canister? And she's like resistant to it at first. She's like, we fed 6 months ago. And she's like, that kid was not very steamy, they mentioned. Yeah.
And I think this is also the scene where he's like, we're still trying to find the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I've been tracking him. I think he's so-and-so, but X, Y, and Z, people need steam. We're hungry.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So then we cut to, they found the boy, which is fun. When the scouts, not scouts, but the guys in the
who's talking about the scouts
is Danny,
who came out of retirement for it, just to do that scene, which I thought was funny. It is funny though if he's just like looking at Ewan McGregor and he's like, oh, that's what they like. I don't look as good as Ewan McGregor.
Well, it's funny too, also because they were gone. They were contemplating on asking Jack Nicholson if he would come back from the movie. But after Ready Player One, it was very public where he was like, I've retired. They wanted him for Ready Player One for some reason. I don't know. If
because there's a Shining section in Ready Player One.
Got it.
There is a huge section of the Ready Player One movie where they go into the Shining.
I watched that movie once, hated it, and never watched it again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It was like mediocre at best. But yeah, there's a whole Shining. So I feel like maybe Warner Brothers was like, well, we just did a bunch of Shining stuff. Yeah, we'll do a Shining prequel. But yeah, I like that they brought like the real Danny back for that camera. It reminds me because we did like all the Omens on my channel. The Omen remake, the original Damien is like the photographer that gets punched out by Lee Schreiber. It's always fun when they do little winks and nods like that.
I like it when they do stuff like that. Like one part like I thought was kind of stupid. Was I think it was Endgame. They brought Jim Starlin, but he was just sitting in the Heroes that Lost People Anonymous or whatever. The Russo brothers are sitting there, and Jim Starlin sitting there, who created Thanos. Yeah, and it's just so weird. Like he didn't even say anything. Well, that's dumb.
Oh, he's not an actor.
I know. It's like
it's funny. I just did a freaking Daredevil 2003. Frank Miller's in it for a second. He just has a pen in his head and he falls down. I'm like, oh, there we go, famous Frank Miller.
So yeah, they find him, and we find out he can tell the pitches before they're even thrown. That's why he's so good.
He's using his shine to cheat.
Yeah. Kids these days.
I know.
But so and for some reason, his parents are just okay with him walking fucking home.
Like really far in a cornfield. Like it's not even like he has a bike or something.
Yeah.
He's just
this is current time.
Yeah, this isn't even like you have the excuse where I think even in the book version, it's like, is there a sidewalk or just the side of a very long
In
road?
the 80s, this would be okay.
Yeah.
Not in 2018 or 2019, whatever.
Like he would have carpooled with like another family or something.
I won't let my son walk down to the bus stop without walking with him. But yeah, so they end up pulling up aside and they end up convincing him to get in the car because they have snake bite Andy. She can like basically, she's a pusher.
Yeah.
Which is fun because even though there's no reference to it and the fire starter, but that's what I think is Andy. I think that was Andy. Andy was a pusher.
Oh, okay.
And that's what he could do. He could change your mind, make you do things and stuff like that.
Real quick, we forgot to mention Andy in the snakebite Andy.
Yeah.
She has a whole scene with Rose before she turns.
Yeah.
In the book, she like sleeps with Rose once, and then she gets like a girlfriend in the True Knot, and they completely eliminate that relationship.
Yeah. It's weird too because like I said earlier, it makes more sense when they changed her character for the movie. But I will say like if anybody was just not everybody in this movie acts weird. Yeah. I will say she just acts just the way she stares at people.
Andy acts really weird. I guess it's part of her power, but she's just very weird.
Yeah, it's very awkwardly acting in her scenes where she like stares at people and stuff. I guess like you said, that makes more sense now, maybe because she's using her powers. But yeah, they pick up the little boy, and this is the scene. Saw it once. I am done. But they drag him out to a field that's in an abandoned like factory or corn husk. I don't know what it was.
It was some kind of I think it was a chemical factory.
A chemical factory or whatever. And then we actually see them, how they steal steam.
So they like straight up tell him, they have him tied down. They're like, we're going to kill you. And Barry is playing with the glove, which comes to play later. But yeah, she tells the kid, she's like, pain purifies the steam. And she goes, you understand, right? Which will come back to bite her in the ass.
She's like, is this going to hurt? He's like, yes. Yeah. It's just like straight up. Yeah.
So they are purposely torturing him.
Oh my God.
So like the shining, which looks like steam, comes out of them and they like inhale it.
Which in the book, there's two different types of steam.
Yes.
When someone dies and then when someone who has shine dies.
Yes.
When someone who dies, it's red.
Yeah.
When someone who shine dies, it's the whatever we get in the movie.
So they like torture the kid, and apparently like the kid was like fine with it.
Oh yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, well, he was like whatever, but apparently like it was messing up Rebecca Ferguson and all of them. Like they all felt weird about it.
There was Mike after the first cut, after the first shot. Mike was like, "All right, that was great. All of y'all's expression we can't use because some of them teared up." They were so like it was funny because like before they were shooting the scene, like we're gonna kill this kid. They were like hyped to shoot the scene, and then when the little boy. His acting that feels so freaking real as a kid being tortured, it was crazy, and that set people off. Because
I mean, none of them had seen The Predator yet, or else they would have been like, I mean, like the Predator wanted this kid's brain. All right.
But unfortunately to them, his screams are so loud. Abra is able, but loud meaning shine. For his shining. It's like they said earlier in the movie, it's like a radio. He shines so loud at one point, Abra's able to hear it.
And she looks in and they can sense that someone's looking, but they're not sure who. But yeah, she watches them murder them.
Yeah.
And then she sends a message to Danny about a murder, which I like, where like the wall just explodes. Yeah. And it's conveniently written the way he wrote Red Rum.
Yeah. Which is also funny because in the book, she's been talking to Tony this entire time, not Danny.
Yes. Did we do the part where he passes out yet in front of the doctor and he has the nosebleed? Did that happen?
No, that happens later.
That happens later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the Tony thing, they never really played up on it the way I thought they would. And either version. We find out at the very end of the Shining book, his middle name is Anthony.
Yeah.
So it's implied that Tony is like him from the future sending signals back.
Yeah, and it's also like it's his coping mechanism to handling the shine.
Yes.
It's like he's created this being of his elder self, something he would look up to.
Yeah. And then I think in the book version, they mentioned Tony looks like him as a kid now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, neither movie really tells you who Tony is and what Tony is. They kind of like
this actually take it back. This might be the scene where he passes out from the little boy.
Is it? No, I thought it was.
Is that when she reaches out to Danny? She reaches out to Danny. Sorry, and that's when he passes out. I think because
I thought that when they're murdering the kid is when he gets the big murder sign.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. That's when she. shit, I don't remember. She reaches out to him, and that's when he passes out.
Yeah, and then she's crying, and her parents are like, "Who died? What are you talking about? Who's dying?"
Oh, it's when it is the later scene when Abra goes to find them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then she goes to a grocery store.
Right.
So after this, after Abra starts to look up the little boy, she wants to get more information on what she saw. Rose the Hat understands that someone was looking. She felt big steam, but they're going to look into it.
Yeah.
She goes to school, gets a printout, finds him on the missing person list, brings it home, and she's going to try to pull something from that information. And she starts to almost shine, but play a playback of the event.
Yeah.
And she's jotting down information that she's going to try to give to Danny.
Yeah.
Because she knows she's just a little girl.
Yeah.
She can't do this herself. She can't go on that trip to inspect it. So she's going to take this information, and then she's finally going to meet Danny in person to give it to him because she now knows what Danny doesn't know.
Yeah.
Is that there's beings out there like this, and they won't stop until they're stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was going to say, I'm like, can't follow up on that.
So after she finds that information and she writes it down, she then gets up and goes to the window. And this is when, I don't know, I guess she's trying to track them.
Yeah.
And she does a trick that she's never done before. So I guess she shines too hard. Instead of going to where they're at, she goes into Rose.
Yes.
Yeah. And
she's like in Rose's head, and Rose feels her.
Oh yeah. This is I love this scene.
I love this scene too.
Her like the whole like, the room turns, and then you see just the POV of Rose, and then it cuts to the music and the grocery store. Great scene.
Yeah, and I like that, like, Rose, like, feels her in her head, and she's trying to communicate with her, and then, like, when she leaves, she, like, knocks Rose, like, the glass shatters and throws Rose.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm fine." She's like, "Okay." And I'm like, "You're gonna clean up all that glass?"
Yeah, because that's when she starts screaming, "Get out, get out, get out."
Yeah.
And that's what hits Danny, and that's what causes Danny to pass out. Yeah.
And then they're like, "You were calling for Tony."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I was? I don't know who you're talking about."
That's so weird they keep on bringing up Tony. And it's just like, well, we are because that was never fully established in the movie. Yeah. So I guess they're still trying to make him a character.
For people who only watch the movie, they want to keep it vague. They don't want to spell that part out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, oh no, am I going to die? Hello, cat. How are you?
So Abra now takes a trip to actually see Danny in person. She goes on a bus to Teeny Town, and she, basically calls him Uncle Tony.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, let or Uncle Dan. Yeah.
Uncle Dan,
I do like that. He's like, "How did you find me?" He's like, "It's like a GPS in my head. I just knew where you were." Yes. So since they threw out this whole end, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to lift this up? Is she fine?
He's fine.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Here we go, guys. Am I gonna die? Is the Pet Cemetery cat gonna kill me? You can hang out here for a second. So in the book, I guess, who did he co-write this with?
Oh, I didn't even look it up.
I think he co-wrote it with someone. I guess, they knew Star Wars was coming back, and they were like, let's get ahead of this. Let's do a George Lucas where we make characters related for no reason.
I told you before you read that. I was like, there's a part in the movie. You're like, what the fuck?
What's funny? I had it when I looked into this. Like, I looked up the differences, like, when the movie came out, and I remember I already knew this. But, like, when you actually read it, I'm like, that sounds stupid. Maybe the book will make it make more sense. No. You find out that, Abra's mom's mom.
Yeah.
Her grandmother. Because Momo is her great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Her grandmother was a party girl in college.
Yeah.
And she slept with one of their professors, who was a party guy, and it turns out that Jack Torrance and one of his drunken benders banged one of his students. I don't even think he knew. And Abra is actually Dan's niece, and her mom is Dan's half-sister.
It bugs me because now my memory's vague on it. Was he with Wendy when this supposedly happened? Because that's not in the book at all in the first book. He is not. There's no infidelity. Anything.
He probably doesn't know. He was probably too freaking drunk and literally doesn't know. Maybe he was with Wendy. She looks younger than Danny. Yeah, maybe he was with Wendy.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like when I read that, I'm like, what are you doing, Steven?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't know why unless it was like a generational thing, maybe because the very end of the book, they mention Abra's, okay, I'm going to put you down there. They mention Abra, they caught her like drinking. And I think that's one of those like, no, we're going to stop. This is hereditary. We're going to stop it right now. But you didn't need to.
I'm glad that's not.
I'm like, by the way, I don't know if you know this. Like, I know like it can be hereditary and stuff, but like also there's a lot of alcoholics. Not all of them are related to each other. Stephen King. I don't know. I felt like it was a pointless Star Wars type reveal.
Yeah,
it didn't really add too much. So I like that they got rid of that plot line. I like that she's just a girl as The Shining. She's very strong with The Shining. But yeah, he explains what her gift is.
Yeah, I called it The Shining.
Yeah, he's like, I don't really use mine. Let's use our outside voices. So like I said, she's like a looker. She can look into other people with The Shining. So like for whatever reason, she hyper focused on
that's the thing is like it's almost like she can project.
Yeah.
She can look. It's kind of crazy because like she literally is like she is kind of like. It's crazy, but it reminds me of like Dragon Ball Z. There's always the best character, and there's always someone better than that character to show up later in a season.
Yeah,
and that was because like Danny was the best at Shining, and then now Abra is the new Danny. Which, to be honest, like we talked about a little earlier. I would read a Abra book. Yeah, I would read an Abra book. It'd be nice. I mean, to see what her life goes because they make it clear. The True Knot are not the only True Knot. Yeah. There's more people like that. Doesn't mean they're called the True Knot. There are other people that still do that
This is just this particular group we're focusing on.
Exactly. But yeah, so he basically tells her, is like, listen here, I can't help you. And if they are as bad as they say they are, they're going to come after you.
He's like, just hide your shine.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to stop it now. And you need to not do it ever again because they will find you. And I don't, and you're not going to be able to take them all on. Yeah. Which is not the answer she wanted. No. Unfortunately. No. So meanwhile, Rose the Hat wants to find Abra. Yeah. Because now she knows how powerful she actually is, and they're going to try to use her as like a cow. Yeah. They are going to just bleed her dry.
Well, she comes up with that plan after their interaction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. After the whole...
or I think. Maybe it was earlier. But yeah, no, that's the plan. The Crow tells her like, oh, that's been tried before and it doesn't work. He's like, well, we're going to try it. Yeah. Because it'll feed us for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah, because some people, that's another thing is like, okay, so like, for example, the Chunk, he's like 500 years old. Yeah. Grandpa Flick is like thousands of years old. So they've been doing this shit for a very long time. Yeah. So she is going to try to use her powers and she's going to find Abra to like get a location on her. And which is really cool. So Abra sees this coming and she sets a trap for her.
I do. And I love the shot of like Rose flying above the clouds.
Oh my God. So cool. So cool.
But yeah, she goes into Abra's mind, like her room, and she sees all the filing cabinets, this is like the memory warehouse or what do they call it? There's a specific term for it. Stephen King likes to use it, and Thomas Harris uses it in the Hannibal books.
He used it in Dreamcatcher.
That's the thing. I've never read Dreamcatcher, but the movie mentioned the whole like memory, whatever. Yeah. It's like Memory Palace. Yeah. Memory Palace. Because the Thomas Harris uses it for Hannibal Lecter too. But yeah, she mentions like my memory palace is like a cathedral because she's been alive for so long. So she starts going through all like the little files.
Well, they say that like there is technically a theory that is true. Like your brain is like a storage unit. Yeah. And at some point that storage unit gets full and you have to delete memories to learn new shit or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see that visually.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's a trap. The filing cabinet lands on her head. And then she realizes that is in her head going Abra, through all her files. And Abra, okay, I never watched this show, but Rooster Teeth, the web series, did a anime called Ruby. And there's a lot of Ruby stuff in her room.
Oh, so I thought that was just made for the movie. I didn't know that was a real character.
That was like, I never watched it, but like, I guess Warner Brothers had some kind of stake in it or whatever. Got it. So yeah, her like dream self is a little bit like this Ruby character, where in the book, she's looking like a character from Game of Thrones because that was popular at the time. So I thought that was a nice little representation. Like she gives herself a different look in
which
her
is
dream.
smart. She's like, I changed things around in my room so she wouldn't actually be able to get any real information to tag me.
Yeah, but they set it up earlier. She's a fan of whatever the hell this show.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's like
there's a there's like
girl.
a toy on her nightstand, and then there's at the end of the movie there's a poster on her wall.
Yeah. But yeah, so she goes into Rose's head, and then like Rose like leaves, and all that she goes back in her body and falls off the thing.
Yeah, she falls off, and she's like, and mind you, we find out they can be hurt.
Yeah.
Her hand is still, like, it didn't just happen in a dream.
Yeah, no, it's like
real.
literally bleeding.
Yeah.
And then, like, the worst time, she's like, they're like, bad news. She's like, not right now. I was like, no, Grandpa's dying.
Yeah, Grandpa Flick's dying.
Now, here's a big change. In the book, someone else had already previously died.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, they got sick? And they're like, we don't get sick.
Exactly.
So the idea is, like, they're not feeding well enough. So they're now like susceptible to diseases,
and
or they theorize like maybe this is something that was always going to happen to us. It just took a really long time.
And they think that the child they previously ate gave them the measles.
Yeah, so the kid wasn't vaccinated, I guess. So they got measles from the kid. So in the book version, they're dying from measles because none of them are vaccinated. And they're like, the only thing we can do is take steam from a kid who is vaccinated. And look, I don't really, whatever you believe, I don't care. But I feel like this was Stephen King, like, working in, like, his stuff. Like, people need to know how important vaccines are. I'm like, yeah, but, like, I get it in the real world, but, like, ghost vampires, it's a little weird when you give it to ghost vampires.
I'm sorry, but this plot is so stupid.
Which is why the movie changed it
I'm
to
so
where...
glad. Oh, my God.
The movie changes to where they're just not eating well enough, and, like, Grandpa Flick is just cycling, which I like that they kept the cycling where, like, different layers of their skin, like, phase in and out of, like, existence.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that earlier in the film when they actually turned Snakebite Andy, like it did in the book. But it's so cool. I'm glad it's still in the movie.
Yeah, but I like that Andy goes, I thought we lived forever. He's like, oh, did someone say that to you? Yeah. I love this line. He's like, did someone tell you that? I'm like, I said, if you eat well, you can live long. He's like, we have not eaten well in a while. So,
which is funny because when they take in Snakebite Andy, they're already technically not eating well.
Yeah.
Which is because she's still like the newest character.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they turn people often. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. They feed on kids with The Shining, but like if there's some like they said we haven't had a pusher in a long time.
Yeah.
So Andy's a replacement.
Yeah.
I don't think this version, I don't think they want to really grow their numbers because they just feed on these kids unless they have a specific ability that would benefit them.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like if think about it, that's one more mouth you got to feed.
Well, then that's why Crow's like, she's really strong at looking in and interacting. Should we turn her? And she's like, absolutely not. She's way too powerful. She will take us all. Like, no, we are going to eat her.
So now we get back to Danny and Dick ends up paying him his visit.
Yes.
He's working at the hospice care and we see this cool little scene where as he goes into a door, he's like, no, it's empty. As I think you got to, something's going on with you. You're picking up the wrong radar or whatever. And he opens up the door and he thinks it's another Overlook.
Yeah. And he almost lost him. I was like, no.
Hold on a second there, Danny.
Which by the way, I like this actor. He was just in Captain America. Yeah. He's in a bunch of stuff, but no, he was a good replacement.
Oh yeah. 100%.
But yeah, and actually it worked out that like in the book version, you learned that Dick had died years previously.
Yeah.
So
and it's still a ghost that comes and sees him.
Yeah, I don't really remember too much in the book. I think he maybe gets visited once or twice.
He does pay him the visit to tell him you got a debt you got to pay.
Okay, that did happen. Yeah.
Yeah. But now it makes sense because he actually had already passed.
Yes. So they mentioned that, and like Danny just didn't keep up with him. Yeah. He couldn't communicate with him. So he had died years previously. So it actually worked out that the previous movie killed him so he could still be a ghost in this. Yeah. And look the way he did at the Overlook. Whereas I guess if they went by the book version, he would look way older. And another thing is, it seems like when you pass and you're a normal person who passes, not these evil blood-sucking ghosts, you're different, and to come back is very difficult for you to do because Dick makes it go, this is my last he's
trip.
Like, I can't really do this too much. And then he says Ka is a wheel, which is a link to the Dark Tower, which I never read.
I know it's so good. Yeah. I want to start the series because the books aren't as much as long. Like each book's like about 6 hours a read.
But isn't that like the thing that links all his universes pretty much?
I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't watch the Idris Elba movie. Maybe I should.
I heard it was awful.
I heard it was just Easter eggs to Stephen King and the story.
I want it because they even made the comic book series of it too. And I was like, okay, well at least I can read the comic book series and stuff like that.
If it's the same script, I might get the comic books or so I'm not reading as much.
Yeah. Well, that was the good thing is like the movie The Keep. I got it off screen over there, but the book, if you ever think about reading the book, don't read the book. Just read the comic. It is the book, and it's like it literally it's the exact same plot.
I noticed they did that for like Dune recently. There's a comic adaptation of Dune that is just like illustrated, so it's easier to follow. I guess.
Yeah, I want to try the Hatebreed, not Hatebreed, Nightbreed.
That would be fun.
Comic series.
Yeah, because there's one where they cross over with Hellraiser, I think.
Oh, and Rawhead Rex even shows up.
Yeah.
Which he does not look anything like the movie. Not at all.
He doesn't look awesome.
No, he does not look awesome. He looks fucking weird.
But yeah, he tells him a debt needs to be paid, and he warns them, is like, you gotta like help that girl, because these vampires will come after them.
Exactly.
And I love, this is one of my favorite lines where he goes, why me? And Dick just goes, shit, man, why me? I was just minding my business when you walked into my kitchen. I'm still on the hook. I was like, that's a good fucking line.
It's pretty good, yeah. So he ends up agreeing, and he ends up going to Billy for help. And he's like, because here's the thing is, Billy has some of the shine. Yeah. In the book, he had the shine. In the movie, he has the shine too.
Yeah, but he's not aware. He's one of the people who aren't aware of it.
Yeah. And there's a whole subplot where Billy has stomach cancer.
Yeah.
And that's obviously scrapped or whatever. But he ends up convincing Billy to help him. He's like, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think you're going to believe me.
Yeah.
So Billy ends up taking him to wherever they need to go, to the factory, the chemical factory, whatever. Abra shows them where it's at, and they find the little boy.
We forgot to mention, the movie like moves this timeline around. In the book, he's been dead for years.
Yeah.
So the movie, he's like freshly dead. And that's why when they dig him up, they're like throwing up and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. They go down there, they pick up the little boy, his glove, and they end up making their way back. And Danny basically explains to Abra, listen, do your parents know?
Yeah.
You need to tell them.
You need to tell them. We're coming back. And at this point, I think her mom has already left to go visit the grandmother.
Mama or what?
Momo.
Momo, yeah. Momo.
And she asks, like, is she going to be okay? And like, Abra just doesn't.
Yeah, because that's a big thing in the book, because it's said she's always known that Momo is going to pull through, and this is the one time she's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But yeah, so they are coming on their way back to Abra's place, and she tells her dad,
but she doesn't actually show him. And I like the dad starts beating, because he assumes it's to catch a predator.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Starts beating the shit out of him. He's like, no, Abra, you have to actually show him. He doesn't understand.
She shows him. And they go sit back and they start talking. And he's drinking. He asks them if they want to drink.
I do like he's shaking. He want to drink. Like, no, we're good. And he's just like shaking with the alcohol. I like the dad. I wish he would have lived.
Well, that's the thing is in theatrical cut, it cuts straight to, okay, what do we need to do? And him shaking.
Yeah.
But then in the if you haven't seen the director's cut, Abra shows them murdering the boy. Yeah. That's not in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, she like plays more for him.
Like a playback, literally.
Yeah. And he realizes that, like, oh shit, they're right.
Yeah.
And now these people are coming after my daughter.
Yeah. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to lure her. They're going to come up with a plan. They don't explain what the plan is.
Yeah, but he makes a point to look at the rabbit on her bed.
Yeah.
He's like, I got an idea. We're going to do a trick. And then she's like, a magic trick?
Exactly.
She's real into magic.
So she ends up, they end up basically luring them into like a camp spot or whatever. Which makes sense because they're traveling on the RVs.
They're all on RVs, yeah.
And this is the point. This is the heavy hitter. This is the fork in the road.
This is the fork where it actually officially I mean, some of this happens in the book, but like it super splits off.
Yeah, it's a big change from the book.
Yeah. So this one, like, they're all there except for Crow and Rose.
Yeah.
Which even in the book, they were like, Rose, you got to stay behind.
Exactly.
Because she's the one whose head that she went into. She's like, she might be able to sense you coming. You need to stay.
Exactly.
And I like that he like tells Rose, like, oh, by the way, we got a news story about an earthquake that happened on one block, and that's how they figure out where she is.
Which is not in the movie. It was not theatrical cut either.
It wasn't?
No.
That explains how they found them.
Yeah.
Because one of her episodes shook.
Exactly.
The True Knot comes out. They go to stab her with the syringe because she's just sitting there all quiet.
Yeah.
And they hit her and they realized she was projecting herself. Like because the rabbit had a connection to her. She was able to project herself. So they just stab a rabbit with syringe. And they're like, oh no, what's this all about? And then Danny and Billy just start blowing them away.
Yeah, the chunk's like fucking parlor tricks, and he takes a shot to the chest.
But I like that Rose feels it all. She's like, oh no, you got to get out of there. This is a trick.
Oh, it's great. And they just start taking them off one by one.
And they just disappear.
Which is another kind of crazy thing is like, okay, we murdered a bunch of people, but there's no bodies left.
That's why it's so hard to prove because they all just disappear like vampires. But yeah, Andy's the last one left.
Oh my God, this scene pissed. After I found out like Billy doesn't die in the book, I'm like, but it is heavy, so it makes sense for good. It
makes sense for the movie, but and especially since they were changing the ending, it made a lot of sense. But yeah, Andy's strong enough to knock Danny out.
Yeah.
But like, how do they get the one? Yeah, Billy shoots her.
So she's already been shot in the shoulder. Yeah, what's called. And then she comes out, and Andy's about to shoot. Danny's about to shoot her, but he's out of bullets.
Yeah,
and that's when she knocks him out.
She's able to like knock him out, and then Billy gets a shot off on her. In the book, like her whole face, he like hits her with like the gun, and her jaw's like broken.
Yeah,
but no, this one, he shoots her. She's down. But then one last thing before she goes, she's like, kill yourself. And like Billy can't like stop it and just blows his brain.
Oh my God. That's such a heavy scene.
Yeah. And I guess they needed Danny at this point to have like a personal loss.
Yeah. And also we got too many characters we need to get rid of for the story to continue. So
yeah. Again, it works a little bit better in the book.
Yeah. And then this is when we get Abra's like, the crow's not there. Where's the crow? Where's the crow?
And then her dad, like, she gets taken. He like hits her with the syringe because she was using her power, so she wasn't able to like tell. And then he kills the dad. We never see him kill the dad, but we just see him on the floor.
So her dad doesn't even show up in the theatrical cut.
I think they just cut to him.
I actually on the floor. Yeah,
I actually like that better in the theatrical cut.
Yeah,
because the director's cut, it's like, oh, he just leaves that room.
Yeah,
and then he comes back with a knife. Like, where the fuck did he go? Did he take a shit or something? Yeah, I like it better in the theatrical where he's suddenly gone and then you just see
like he could have killed him before he got to Abra. Makes more sense that way.
Yeah. That's the one thing I would have changed.
Yeah. So, Danny is upset, obviously, and he needs to go. He knows that she's taken, and he goes back to his place, and he's thinking about drinking.
Yes,
because he's thought that she's gone. You know, but then he's like, he's going to take a sip, but he ends up throwing the glass bottle down, shattering it everywhere. And he's like, no. They said it's like a radio. Okay, just tune into the right channel.
And this is when he's like really using The Shining because he hasn't actually used it too much.
And this is when he asks for Tony's help.
Yes,
which is not in. I can't remember. I don't even think that line's in the theatrical cut either.
Yeah.
It's so weird, the things that are not in the theatrical cut. Yeah. It's like usually these kind of movies, the stuff that's missing, or like, okay, this scene went on a little bit more. This scene went on a little bit more. These are like mid cuts that Mike's taken off. So I guess it's not 3 hours long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like trimming here and there as much as he can.
But he's able to find Abra. She's drugged, but he's able to find her. She's in the back seat of Crow Daddy's truck.
Yeah.
I love this scene. This scene's great.
I do like Crow Daddy's got the old Civil War gun, showing like how old he's been, how long he's been around.
They said there's a lot of things throughout the movie that they placed to let you know that how old they are.
Yeah.
But to be honest, unless you watch that like insert, it's kind of hard to see those things.
Yeah.
Or to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to like literally analyze the book. Oh, it's my wife.
Oh, sorry. So I like that she's talking to him first, and he's like, yeah, your dad died, and all my friends died, and the result was the same, so everyone just died for no reason.
Exactly.
Because of you. And it's like, well, that's rough. But I like when Danny goes into her.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
And I like that the crow like doesn't know what's going on right away. I mean, this part is kind of like the book. The crow does like kidnap her, but they condense it down a lot.
And then Billy's there too, which Billy's not there.
Yeah, because he's holding Billy hostage to keep her in line while also drugging her. But yeah, I like that she's like in Danny's like voice. She's like, man, I feel like hungover and I don't miss it. And the crow's like, what? You're like 10. What the fuck are you talking about? But he eventually catches on. He's like, are you the one? He's like, yeah, I killed all your friends.
And here's the crazy thing. This whole time, that even though Danny's been shining and been helping him, nobody knows about Danny at all.
Well, he's hidden it for so many years.
But I'm just thinking, even though he's currently using it to help her, I guess he's technically not shining when they're too busy looking at her to notice, I guess, another person shining.
Well, he's like, she's sending messages to him and she's reading his message. I don't think he's actually used the shine to super communicate. She could just see like what his board is saying and everything. So So yeah, this is the first time he's like really using it.
I love this scene.
Because he was using it for subtle things like I know where your watch is, which they're probably not picking up on that. Yeah. And again, they're not even really looking for adults anyway.
Which also, this scene right here is Danny's never even done this power before.
Yeah.
And he's projecting himself into Abra.
He knows that Abra can do it, so he thinks putting himself in her will make her able to do it. I do like the book mentions that there was a point in the past where the True Knot passed Danny. Like in like the 80s or whatever, just passed him and had no idea. So he's actually interacted with them before and just had no idea.
But yeah, this is a great scene where basically she's like, I learned a new trick. You want to see another trick?
Yeah.
And she's like, arrogance is your downfall.
Yeah.
You think you're going to live forever. So it makes sense that you didn't buckle your seatbelt.
I love he's like, what? And then she pushes him. He goes out through the window.
Oh, man, it's great. And he and then he starts to cycle and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh my God, this scene I like this so much better than the book.
Yeah, and she's a little dark.
Billy shoots him in the head, right? Isn't that what happens in the book?
I think so, but this is a little dark here where she's like, you deserve this.
Yeah. Well, this is another, they kind of set it up too, to where like they say, you got some dark in you.
Yeah.
And she's almost like she's like enjoying him dying.
Yeah, and I know that in the book version, it's like, that's because she's related to Jack. It's like, also, she could just be a human. Every human has that. She doesn't have to be related to fucking Jack.
So she ends up staying up in like a hotel or whatever.
Well, before that, she runs into Rose on the road.
Oh, yeah.
Psychic Vision Road, she walks right past her. And I think this is when like Rose starts like eating all the canisters.
Because everyone's dead.
Just supercharged. Like,
yeah, she's taking a bunch of Zenzu beans. Another Dragon Ball Z reference.
She's at the power level 9,000.
Yeah. But yeah, so she ends up going to a hotel. Danny comes picking her up, and they're coming up to the idea. He's like, you know what? I have a place where it eats people like this. We're going to lure her there, and we're going to end this once and for all.
Yeah.
Which is the Overlook.
Which, I mean, the ghosts are in his head. Couldn't he just release them anywhere?
Yeah, and that's another thing is like...
I don't know why. I guess the Overlook makes them more powerful because that's where they were.
And the thing is, the ghosts are in his head, and he's locked them up. In my head, I'm like, wouldn't you have to constantly be using your shine to keep them locked up?
I guess there's a way you can autopilot. I did like that. There's two moments where the one girl says, like, am I human? She goes, do you care? But then he asks Dick, he's like, what happens to them in the box? Do they die? He's like, do you care?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. But yeah, so in this version, the Overlook is still existing. Yeah. It was actually funny because in the book, it's burnt down. But like the True Knot, unbeknownst to them, their campground is on the Overlook.
Yeah, it's just like a campground and then there's like a bar.
Yes, and then they go to a part on top of the Overlook. It's called Top of the World. It's like a little lookout that they made.
Yeah.
So they don't even know that they're on the campground of the Overlook. The Overlook whole thing doesn't really play into it too much, unless he does release some of the ghosts and one of them runs into Horace Delaware, or the guy who shot himself. Yeah. But I don't even know if he attacks them. I think the ghosts are just there. So
also, like for people who haven't read the book, let's call it, technically around this time, there was this. So the reason we said that not all the ghosts died at the campgrounds. Yeah. They're at the Overlook campgrounds, and they take a visit to see Momo.
Yes.
And they take her cancer.
Yeah, they take her like red dust, the red steam. And they like unleash it onto all them. So they they inhale her death and they all die.
Exactly. So that's how they kill all the True Knot except for Rose.
Yeah. So they simplified it here. Yeah. But yeah, so they go to the Overlook Hotel. And I like that he's like, you're going to stay outside until I absolutely need you in there. And she's like, what am I going to do? He's like, I got to wake it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he goes in, he wakes up no one has ransacked this place. No one has taken anything in there. I don't know why they just left it up there.
I'm guessing because it's like haunted.
And also, they did mention in the movie that they're like, yeah, it'll cost a fortune to plow the roads. And like, I guess after the millionth murder at the Overlook, they're like, it just costs more than it's worth. Yeah. Like until they make a major highway, there's no point in having this here.
Well, yeah, because you got to think of like if you tore it down, you know how long of those trips you have to take back and forth with dump trucks and stuff like that to tear it down.
Yeah, just leave it there, I guess.
And also because like because of legal reasons and stuff like that.
Maybe but also, I figure like enough windows would have broke to just be animals all over that place. Like they don't run into like a single like fox or like raccoon.
Yeah,
there'd be raccoons up the bats would be hanging on the ceiling.
So Danny tells her, I got to wake it up. He goes inside. He goes to the boiler, turns it on.
Yes, which we finally get a payoff. Because one of the things with the original Shining movie, I don't know when they decided in the production of that movie to change the ending, but they have a whole scene in The Shining where they show the setup to the boiler. Mm-hmm. If you read the book, you know what the boiler leads to.
Yeah.
And then that movie never pays up. So here, a million years later, we're finally going to get the payoff to the boiler setup.
Yeah. So he gets the whole boiler. He starts turning it on and stuff like that, which gives the Overlook energy and stuff.
Well,
I mean, not only just heat, but like
he's turning the power on, but also it starts to feed off him.
And it's also, you can see the Overlook starting to change as he goes in the ballroom and it goes from deteriorating to new again.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Yeah. He stops by the bar.
And meets the new Lloyd.
The new Lloyd, who is Jack.
Yes.
This time played by Henry Thomas.
Yeah. From E.T.
I mean, does a good job, but like it does, out of all the other characters, he looks the most where he's just in a costume.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I never really thought that he was Jack Nicholson. I appreciate it more than de-aged Jack Nicholson. But yeah, he has a scene similar to Lloyd, but he's smart enough to know what's going on.
Yeah, and he's talking to him. Because he sees, he's being Lloyd, but he sees his dad.
Yeah.
He sees his dad. He knows that's
the Overlook is up to its old tricks. And granted, the Overlook's been asleep.
Yeah.
So it's not really on its A game here. So they're like, yeah, make it look like he's dad and get him to drink alcohol. It's like, I don't think it's working. Keep doing it.
Yeah, because that's a big part of the book is the Overlook possesses him. And like he actually is like he's drunk, but it's like he never really drank. It's just the Overlook.
He just gives into the Overlook's darkness.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the Overlook using his dad to like bring him in. It's trying to use the same tricks on him, but Danny's not falling for it.
No, not at all. And that's another thing is another scene that's I keep on saying this. I'll repeat, but that's not in the movie. The theatrical. That's not theatrical. The bathroom scene.
Oh yeah, they extend it more.
Yeah.
I do like the scene though where the Overlook is doing the whole thing, pretending to be Lloyd, and he tells him he's like, yeah, so we lived in Florida. Yeah. He's like, don't you want to know what happened to your wife? She died, but it shows that like the Overlook won. It got Jack Torrance.
Yeah.
Jack Torrance is like 100%. Never went back to haunt Danny, I guess. So like he is like in on the plan. Like he's completely lost. Whereas the book version, there is a cameo of Jack at the very end where his like spirit, because he redeemed himself at the end of the book.
He helps him at the end.
Yes. And he like there is a bit of a cameo there where this is just like, this is the dark version. Jack lost.
Yeah. And at the end of the book, basically Rose Heck gets pushed off a ledge.
Yeah.
And he said he felt a third figure up there, and it was Jack who gives him the extra push.
But I like that he's doing the whole bartender thing, but then like for one shot, he's evil Jack from The Shining with the messed up hair.
Yeah.
And then he goes right back to being the bartender. But you're right, they do extend it where they do the bathroom scene.
And then he's in the same wardrobe as as the usher or whatever.
He keeps like changing.
Yeah.
Because what's his face? Mr. Grady was the caretaker, but then he was suddenly out. So like, I guess they just keep recruiting people for different roles.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, he ends up turning his dad down. He turns the Overlook down.
Yep.
Because he's got other things to do now. He's like, all right, well, I tried, Dad.
Because he keeps on convincing, like, listen, you don't owe her nothing.
Yeah.
You don't owe her anything. All you need to do is just let her in here and then just leave her alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll do the rest. You don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
Which is, I like, obviously it's clear he's not going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, he did leave a kid alone and we saw how that worked out. Yeah. So he's not doing that again.
The bathroom scene kind of makes you think that he's contemplating it.
Yeah.
But you take the bathroom scene out, it's clear as day he's not contemplating it at all.
Yeah.
So while he's in the bathroom, he gets a yell from Abra that Rose is here. So he goes out to get Abra, brings them in, and they're going to set another trap for Rose, which was really cool. Basically, she thinks she is in Abra's mind, and she's fighting Abra.
Before she gets to the mind, she takes a walk through the Overlook, and she sees the elevator of blood, which is all done digitally.
Oh, really? I think it was a miniature.
No. So they only they recycled some footage from the original movie. A lot of it was redone, like all the famous scenes where he's walking around having memories. That was all reshot. The one that they recycled was the actual helicopter footage, but they made it nighttime and they added snow. So they digitally layered over it. But apparently they took the scene and they recreated it digitally so it could be from Rose's point of view.
Oh, gotcha.
From her angle where she is. But yeah, she sees. So I guess whoever the blood elevator ghost was, I guess that's a hard ghost to show up with Danny. So it just stayed at the Overlook. It's like, how many times is he going to be near an elevator? I don't know how I can haunt him. But she sees it, so she knows there's something up with this
She's
place.
like happy about it. She's like, I like this place.
She's probably run into this shit before. That's the thing, because there are places that shine. She's like, yeah, probably. Elevator, I've seen that. But this is the one thing. They're like, how much of this is like in the real world? Because like the typewriters there, I'm like, no one ever. I'm pretty sure the cops would have came and like, well, what was he typing? They wouldn't have left the typewriter there.
Yeah.
But is that part of like, is the hotel making that to fuck with Danny, and Danny just has to ignore it? But yeah, she shows up. You're right. They put her into the maze.
Yeah.
Which doesn't exist in this, even in this version, because who would have kept up with it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And yeah, I like that Abra keeps coming and cutting her.
Yeah.
And she grabs her and she's like, yeah, blah, 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 I know your mind. She's like, wait a minute. This isn't your memory, is it? I like, as it's happening, the box is slowly coming up behind her.
Oh my God, so cool.
But yeah, this is when she realizes that, Danny has the shine. And I like that she's like, how did we miss you?
Yeah. That was the big thing, is like, and then now, so she ends up getting, she knocks them out of the trance,
dream,
or the dream or trance or whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes after Danny. Abra takes off running, and she goes to fight Danny with the axe, and he gets one good whack at her.
Yeah.
She turns the axe around, gets him right in the femoral artery in his leg.
So now we know that Danny is going to die.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that's the thing, is like, help's not going to get there fast enough. You're going to bleed out.
Yeah. I mean, he's an orderly. If he could find like a,
I guess he could make a tourniquet.
If he found a first aid kit from 40 years ago, he'll get lucky.
But she throws him, she picks him up off the ground with the axe in his thigh and throws him down the.
And I love that shot a lot, like the Jack and Wendy scene. Yeah.
And she ends up taking his shine, because she's like, she brings up the whole, like, the pain purifies it.
Yeah.
She starts digging her finger in his thigh, and she starts eating his shine. And that's when she notices, she starts to get memories.
Yeah.
His memories.
Yeah.
While he eats her shine. And then she gets, basically, her curiosity gets the best of her. She's like, wait a second, there's something else in there.
Yeah. She sees the boxes and she doesn't know what the boxes are.
No.
She assumes it's like extra power and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are they? Are they this? Are they that? Are they that? And he opens up all the boxes. He's like, no, they're starving. And she looks over and it's all the ghosts from the Shining.
Oh my God. And they just start feasting on her.
Yes. Not all the ghosts. The skeleton people are gone. Remember Wendy just shows up next to skeleton people at one point in The Shining?
Oh, shit.
She walks into like the big room and it's all just skeletons. Like
and the movies.
Yeah, the movie version.
Sorry, I was thinking about that.
I would have loved those guys just in the background. They're like, hi, we're here too. We see the twins. We see Horace Delbrook. We see Miss Massey. And then this is the moment where I trolled Mike Flanagan and I had to get him to respond. Do you not know about this?
No,
I've told this. The one episode I did with Nostalgia Critic and Cinema Snob, I mentioned this. It's a clip on my Clips channel, but I'll tell an abbreviated version here. I was really mad Dog Soup Blowjob Guy wasn't in this scene. Now, some people would say it's a very cool scene and reveal, and maybe someone in a dog suit might have taken away from the fear of it, but I was like, no, he was very much needed in this. So the weekend this came out, I went on a tirade on Twitter. I was tagging Stephen King, Warner Brothers, everyone with the picture of the dog suit blowjob guy. And I'm like, why did you leave this out? And then hashtag where's dog suit blowjob guy. And I just would not stop tweeting people about it. That was that weekend. I'm like, you know what? For this weekend, I'm guy who's obsessed with the dog suit blowjob guy. And I'm just going to be a dick to, I was less busy these days. I was just going to be a dick to everyone. And the one that finally got Mike Flanagan to respond is when I said, I was like, I'll send you the screenshot of the tweet, but it was something along the lines of like, getting rid of the dog suit blowjob guy is fur erasure. Michael Flanagan is excluding furries. And he actually responded. And I love Mike Flanagan because he was so funny. He could have just kept ignoring me. He could have blocked me. I would have settled if he just said, oh, one of the ghosts that are in the suit, that's just him. He's just not wearing the dog suit. I would have accepted that. Instead, Mike Flanagan tweeted back, oh, he's in the movie several times. He's just below the frame, implying he's giving everyone blowjobs. And I'm like, I read that tweet. I'm like, And I think I responded, I'm like, oh man, I was just fucking with you. That was really funny. But like, I can see them be like, who is this fucking guy tweeting about this? Just respond to him. And I'm like, that was good enough for me. So it's my one interaction with Mike Flanagan. I was just on him about the dog suit.
If he ever shows up to Monster Mania, you'd be like, you remember that one time? I'm the guy.
I will print out the tweet and be like, can you sign this tweet of when I was a real asshole for a weekend? And it really bothered you.
That's funny.
Because me, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, that's the one ghost that when I was a kid and saw that scene, that was like the one ghost that stuck out to me. Because I'm like, it's so different than everything you see in the movie.
Yeah.
And again, you find out in the book that they had kinky sex parties.
Yeah, it was like a weird like gay couple basically.
Yeah, yeah. And he
like
threatens to eat Danny at one point.
Yeah.
So like the movie. The mini-series does that scene, but he's wearing like a werewolf mask. It's not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was such a dick that weekend. But this is a great scene where he unleashes all the Overlook thing and they feed on her.
Yeah.
So she gets a turn back on her. They all go into her and they like just absorb her steam.
I like that scene where like the hand morphs underneath her skin.
Yeah,
like
which
off
the
like
new
from
Deadpool did.
Yeah.
They did that effect.
And maybe it reminded me also like if you remember the scene from like the Doctor and the Thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where he puts his hand on his face and then it just but yeah, so they eat her. And now that they're done with her, they turn on Danny.
And Danny's like too weak to
he
leave.
can't put him back in the box.
Yeah.
And they end up, so this is the part now. This is the switch. This is one thing that Mike Flanagan did that, this is one of the reasons why you brought up earlier that Stephen King likes this.
Yeah.
Now we're getting the Shining ending.
Yeah, this is literally the ending of The Shining minus Dick and Wendy.
Yeah.
Abra is taking the place of Danny. Danny is taking the place of Jack.
Yeah. So Jack is going after Abra.
I like that she runs into the twins.
Yeah. And was it Grady? Is that
she sees Grady, Horace, but the first one she meets are the twins.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's when she sees Danny and his eyes all white. She's like, oh, he's not right. And they make it into room 237.
Yep. And this is, and then her whole little monologue is Danny's monologue from the book.
Yeah, where she's like, you're wearing a false face. That is funny because they do use some of the dialogue from the book. Like he calls him like a pup. He keeps saying, take your medicine.
Yeah.
That is a line that's repeated throughout the book multiple times. It was never used in the movie. So hearing book dialogue in the sequel to a movie that used none of the book dialogue is a little jarring.
Yeah.
Because Stephen King writes things weird sometimes. And Mike Flanagan likes the way he writes, whereas the previous movie didn't. So like that is the one disconnect between the two. It feels like they're very much connected, but everyone's talking a little too Stephen King-y in the sequel. It's like, all right. When you watch these back to back, it's like everyone talks weird.
If you most of his earlier books, he doesn't ever use the word goosebumps. He says goose flesh. I was like, who the fuck says goose flesh? I don't say I got goose flesh.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
But no, this scene, he overcomes it like Jack does.
Oh, and it's great. And then he tells her, run.
Yeah.
The one scene in the book, which is one of my favorite scene, is where like he tells Danny run and he goes, don't forget how much I love you.
Yeah.
And then that's when, but in the book, the hotel makes him take the mallet and bash his brains in.
Yeah.
And it's also cool too because then his face morphs into 3 different faces. Each of the monsters are technically, they take on characteristics of his face. So he's got, and so when he's talking, that's another cool thing that this in the book, when he's talking as the hotel, it is multiple voices.
Yeah.
And there's a multiple voice overlay, which they brought into the movie in Dr. Sleep. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
To actually be able to like hear that visually and stuff like that, that was really, really cool.
But I like that he tells her to run. He makes it the boiler, and it looks like he's going to turn off the boiler.
Yeah.
But he's really just there to make sure it doesn't blow up until she leaves.
Exactly.
And then once she leaves, you see that he just like totally submits.
Yeah.
We get a nice moment where he sees his mom again.
I was hoping at the end that I was like, well, maybe there's a little shot of Jack standing behind Wendy and putting his hand on her shoulder or something like that. But I'm like, I guess it would be hard for the audience to want to see that after us portraying Jack as being such an awful person.
I think in movie universe, Jack lost.
Yeah.
Jack's gone. He's evil now. He's not. He doesn't even identify as Jack anymore. He's just the Overlook now.
Yeah.
Like they got him completely. And apparently they liked him enough. He's not even one of just the regular ghosts. He's like a special ghost. He's the bartender caretaker ghost.
Yeah.
So it was nice that Wendy was there because he's like, I didn't get to look at my mom when she died. She was covered in flies, and now I get to like see her. It's a really nice moment where like he like disappears, the kid comes in, and then the building burns down. And at first we don't know what's going on, and then we see Abra talking to Danny. She's like, I knew you'd be okay. And this, and he's like, hey, use your shine, kid. Shine on, you crazy diamond, or whatever. And then we realize he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a great scene too, because Abra's mom walks in. And she's like, who are you talking to? Oh, nobody. But then she starts like, nope, he told me to shine on. And she's like, no, I was talking to Danny. Danny's okay. Yeah. What's called?
Dad's okay.
Dad's okay. And then she says what Danny says to people that are in hospice care to cover. We move on from here. Yeah, like it's not just nothing. We still move on. Yeah. Which is really reassuring for her mom. Yeah. Because she brings up mom.
And now her husband's dead too. And like a book version, Danny gets to live. Yeah. Everyone kind of gets to live, really.
Yeah, no one really dies.
Except for Momo.
Yeah, she's the only one who dies.
And like, because in the book, Danny, since they're related and everything, he kind of lives to make sure that like Abra doesn't go down the path of alcoholism and whatnot.
Yeah, that was a big thing. He comes back as she went to a party and drank.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And she's like, I didn't even like it. It's like, yeah, we all don't like it at first. Nobody likes it. But yeah, so since they dropped that, it made more sense for him to just die. Yeah. So he can have like the whole Jack sort of ending.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, and then it ends. I do like that. The Overlook is like, well, fuck, we're just gonna latch onto this girl now, and Miss Massey's in the tub.
It starts just like the first one. It starts like the movies. It ends with the movie the way the movie kind of starts.
And Miss Massey's looking a little too confident. It's like, yeah, this one will be fine. It's like, well, no, she knows Jack. You're going to be in a box. And then it plays with Midnight, The Stars and You, the song from the movie, the original one. And it's just a great ending. It's a solid movie.
Solid movie. All right. Now, here's the main question. Yeah. Okay. Book or movie? What do you got?
Like, which one do I
prefer? Which one do you prefer? Which one do you prefer? Which one is better? Is the movie better than the book, or is the book better?
Man, it's hard to tell.
Here, I'll go. You may go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I think the movie's better. I think a lot of problems I have with the book, the movie fixes. Kind of like what a lot of problems with Stephen King had with the movie. Yeah. The Dr. Sleep fixes the movie.
I do think I enjoy the movie more, but I think that's tied to me being a fan of the first film and the connection to it. I mean, you win kind of both ways. I mean, the book does have some goofy stuff in it, but most Stephen King stuff has goofy stuff in it. Yeah. I think I enjoy the movie more. I would reread The Shining book. I think I'm good with Dr. Sleep. I don't think I'd ever reread Dr. Sleep.
Well, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen or you don't see read Cujo, if you've ever read Cujo, but
I have the book. I should. I think I tried reading it as like a kid. I don't remember if I got through it.
I think Frank Todd. I think it's Frank Todd is the villain in Dead Zone. He embodies the dog.
I do know that. Yes, the guy who kills,
which is very wacky.
The serial killer from the Dead Zone who kills himself. That was a good movie. Dead Zone. That's pretty accurate, right?
So the only difference is the little boy is actually a like 16-year-old kid, and he has like a learning disability, kind of like dyslexia, but it's more like he gets stage fright to read. Okay. And the scene is not a ice skating scene. It is a pre-prom party at a bar where everyone gets trapped in during a lightning storm and it catches on fire. It's like Final Destination.
Right.
Which is much cooler than what we got.
I don't know. You wouldn't have gotten the ice is gonna break scene. But yeah, I remember like, because in the movie it's just rabies. Yeah. And in the book, they're like, no, the ghost of the guy who killed himself in that book is here. It's like, what?
Oh, and the movie opens, and the book opens up with a monster in the closet that he doesn't reference at all through the rest of the book. It starts with a monster in the closet. That's a real monster. Yeah. And then the movie makes you think he saw a monster. Yeah. But in the book, there's actually a monster in the closet. And then that's it. Like I was like, okay, was that Pennywise?
Real quick, does Cujo get rabies in the book? Is there something that drives him crazy?
He still gets crazy, but they say that
the spirit of the killer went in, used the rabies did Cujo shine, and he was able to bring it.
It's like the embodiment of awful. It's like his ghost is the embodiment of awful things.
Okay,
and it's like a reincarnation of him.
Okay. All right, that makes sense then.
Yeah, still wacky and dumb, but yeah.
I enjoy the movie version of Dr. Sleep more than the book. But I like both.
No, they're both great. I will say the movie gets a little, the book gets a little long for my liking.
Do you think, like 7 years from now, Mick Garris will do a TV version of the Dr. Sleep book?
Please don't.
No, he should. Screw it. Do it.
Please don't.
Do the measles.
He did all of them.
We want to see ghost measles. Come on,
did he do Carrie too? I know he did the Tommy Knockers and he did the Shining.
I don't know if he did. I don't know. I know Tom Holland did a few. He did It, right? Did Tom Holland do It?
Tom
Holland did the Langoliers.
Was Tommy Wallace, right?
Tommy Lee Wallace did it. Tom Holland did the Langoliers.
Yeah. Oh God, the Langoliers.
Stephen King is in that. Stephen King is in that movie, and him being like, The Shining, I don't get it. It's like, motherfucker, you were in Langoliers with the CGI meatballs. Like, relax. But yeah, no, I really, really love this movie. I wish more people had seen it. Out of all the legacy sequels, it's one of the ones I like the most. Because it just feels like a sequel. Try something different, keeps with the spirit of the original. And there's not, other than the advertisements and in the beginning and a lot of the end, there's not a lot of remember this.
Yeah.
At one point, you kind of forget it's like a Shining sequel until they get to the Overlook. You're like, oh, right, The Shining.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy it.
Cool. Perfect. All right. So, Tony, how about you tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find me at Hack the Movies on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can go to hackthemovies.com. You can find me on Patreon. Got a lot of stuff going on Patreon. I also do live streams on my second channel, Hack the Movies Clips and Streams. I also have a Twitch. Pretty much look up Hack the Movies. You will find me. Unless it's Reddit, you'll find a bunch of stuff about how I suck. But anything outside of that, you will find me. Yeah, I'm just Hack the Movies across the board.
So this episode comes out on Friday. Anything
this coming Friday?
This coming up Friday. So what's new out that you want people to check out?
Well, the same day this comes out, you can join me for another sequel. I will be doing Mission Impossible 2 on my channel.
Oh, that's my favorite. My favorite.
I think the theme of that episode is like, is it the worst, but yet everyone's favorite?
No, come on. You got Metallica. The boom,
no.
boom, boom.
Well, look, it might be the worst Mission Impossible, but it might also be my absolute favorite that I've seen a million times. I'll find out on my episode. We'll be doing that. We did the first one. It's one of the first episodes of my show, the original Mission Impossible movie. But since the new one's coming out, I wanted to get back to doing all those.
Oh, yeah.
Check this out. Check out me and Angela think of Mission Impossible 2 by John Woo. I want it to rhyme.
Oh, John Woo was great.
Yeah.
And that's it for today's episode. Dr. Sleep, directed by Mike Flanagan. Thank you for stopping by. And while you're there, if you could please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media. That'd be awesome. If you like this movie or you like the book better, let us know in the comments. We like to have conversations in the comments and stuff like that. It's always great to have a dialogue going back with fans and so forth. Be sure to follow us on all our social medias for all new episodes and so forth like that, so you can get in the loop with what we're coming out and everything. And we'll be back for more reviews, so stay tuned. Until next time, I'm Logan.
I'm Tony from Hack the Movies.
And thank you for renting from the Villa.